those that belong to the module. The state always jumps to the defense as if it's the religion that is blamed. So the state, for its political gain, or the political party today in office, the CPIM or the LDF there, chooses to claim benefit of that religion and tries to support for appeasement. That's precisely what Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the minister, had quoted. He's not talking about the religion practiced by the individuals or by those part of the outfit. It is about the state's action and the state's comments. And as a matter of fact, the incident that he pointed out to is also the celebration of Hamas that was done just the day before. And when such incidents take place in the state and the state supports such actions and does not question it, then immediately what is the reaction that's among the public? And today, even the Catholic Church has, the Catholic Church has questioned the same. They have stated that secular parties, or the parties that claim themselves to be secular, do not question such actions. How can you defend Hamas when they have just not, since October 7th, have killed more than 1,400 people? So it is the action of the state government or the party in the
that incident.
office
Yeah, Binoy Viswam, that incident that he's talking about happened just a day ahead, in which a Hamas leader, former Hamas leader, Khalid Mashal, had addressed a gathering and he had made some very, very inflammatory comments.
Now, do you think that I am here to support or highlight the arguments of the Hamas? Who told you that we are for the Hamas? We are for the people of Palestine. We are. And we will oppose the attack on the Palestinian people by the Israeli aggressors. And we have difference of opinion on the government of India's policy on the Middle East. And we are shameful that the government of India yesterday voted against the Indian policy itself. When the question of came there, we were abstaining from voting. And in that abstinence was, in a way, supporting the Israeli aggressors and the US supporters. And that is there. But never think that we are here to support the Hamas.
Yes.
Don't think that.
Fine enough. Rahul Ishwar, you know, before I go back to the politicians Hibi Eden and Binoy Viswam, I want to understand from you, as a resident of Kerala, this certainly is a very, very disturbing incident. It comes on a Sunday where you have believers, you know, in a congregation, and then someone who says in his confession on the Facebook that he was among them till he became disillusioned with his practices.
Yes. Mariaji, two submissions. First of all, I'm a Hindu right-wing activist, and I would like to place on record my apology to our Muslim brothers and sisters that I also doubted them, just like many of our right-wing friends. We thought it was on the context of Israel and Palestine, or a very condemnable incident where a Hamas leader came. As we all know, the news emerged that it was by Dominic Martin. He was a disgruntled person. He had issues with Jehovah's Witness, some kind of a far right. I belong to right-wing, but he is a far right person. So he has some issues with them, saying that they are not taking nationalism enough. That's one of the reasons he stated that he attacked this congregation. So let us call a spade a spade. There are extremists in every community. In my community too, there are extremists. In Christian, Muslim, Hindu community, there are hardliners. We should be able to point them out, and we should be able to isolate them. We should not confuse issues. There is no Hamas angle in this. Even though a person coming from Hamas addressing a virtual rally is absolutely condemnable, these are two different issues. This person, out of some kind of a far right jingoistic attitude, has done this, and he has even invoked national anthem for this. And I would like to tell him that even our Honorable Supreme Court was magnanimous enough for the Jehovah's Witness to say that if you don't want to sing, don't sing. And when you do a bomb blast in the name of national anthem, you are insulting Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi. So there is no need for such a far right or far left
But
portion.
Rahul, from where are you picking up that national anthem part? Who has told
He said in FB Live, Dominic Martin himself said in FB Live that Jehovah's Witness is misleading people. I have been with Jehovah's Witness for 16 years. They are not allowing their children to sing national anthem. They are not allowing anybody to take any kind of sweets from other community. That is true. See, I had a very close Jehovah's Witness friend. When I go from temple and offer him something, he will never take. See, may that be, but that cannot be the cause for a bomb blast. So it is some kind of a far right attack that really happened. Let us be open and honest about it, because terror at the end end of the day, when a Hindu, Muslim or Christian does a bomb blast, it kills people. So there is no jihadi or Islamist angle to it. Let that be very clear. I'm a person who is outright to condemn Islamic terrorism, but this is a person who has far-right leanings from Jehovah Witness community itself who has done this, and that is for as per his confession. Of course, like Haibiji said or Binoy Sar said, a detailed investigation regarding the background should be there. But the national media, including people like me, we were misled in the beginning, because naturally we thought a Hamas speech was there yesterday, the Palestine-Israel issue was there.
You
so
are of the
naturally,
opinion, as a resident of Kerala, that the two are not linked, but the police at the moment are saying that they are not really going with the fact that it's a lone wolf. There could be a larger conspiracy. Hebe Eden and Binoy Viswam. Let me go back to the two politicians who have been, of course, because they have to take care of the constituents, but they are here on the show speaking to NDTV as well. So let me go back to them. Hebe Eden, come in on this. You know, the larger point here being made is that there is need to go into the real matter. We should know about the truth.
Absolutely. As I said, it is too early to make a comment. That is the reason, being a responsible people's representative. My first responsibility is to take care of the victims who have been part of the blast, to give them all kinds of support. Second thing is to make sure that all the culprits, including the conspiracy-related matters, are brought into light. Today, we are having this discussion at 9. It would have been 9:30 now. So it's just 12 hours after the incident. So even the police and the NIA and the respected agencies should be given some time to make sure that the real culprits, even if it is Martin or people who are part of conspiracy, should be brought to light. As Rahul Ishwar mentioned, there have been many confusions in the last few days. And today, after the blast, soon after the blast, when responsible people in the cabinet, in the ministry, who are a part of the constitution, are making statements which mislead people, which create hate amongst communities, which create a lot of anger and a lot of sensitiveness amongst the communities, are something which cannot be accepted. My state, my land, my country is something very precious to me.
Absolutely.
And Kerala always
Binoy
has
Viswam, final words
a
to you.
place of harmony.
Quick 30 seconds, sir.
No need to tell further. We stand for the country's unity. We stand for the people's unity. We are for the religious harmony. And we want to make sure that the people of Kerala will stand with the people of India to see that the line and the society and the politics of hatred has no space in this country and in the state. In Kerala, we are particular for that. We have a definite political culture, and that culture upholds the values of harmony and amity between the people. We don't want this country to be divided. Religions may be differ, politics may differ, but the people have to stay united with mutual trust and confidence each other.
Absolutely.
That's our policy. For that policy, our government is trying at most. That is the LDF. That's the thrust of the LDF politics. That's why we are left.
All right, Binoy Viswam, Hebe Eden, Ramaswamy Mayappan, Yashwardhan Azad and Rahul Ishwar, thank you so much for joining us. It's a story which is still developing, because we'll know about the truth, whether it's a lone wolf attack or there is a larger terror plot to it, because NIA has taken over the investigation. A story we'll continue to track very closely on NDTV. But some good news that is coming in now. India beats England by 100 runs. The Indian team had set a target of 230 runs, while England was bowled out at 129. Rika is joining me on the phone line. Rika, congratulations. But first, tell us, wasn't it expected?
Well, Maria, I have to tell you that India has blown England away, literally, in Lucknow. India had managed to post only 229, courtesy that 87 runs that Captain Rohit Sharma had scored. It was a pedestrian batting performance, but the Indian bowlers came out in full steam, breathing fire, and it was the Indian pacers that delivered that 100-run victory for the team. taking India right to the top of the table. England, the defending champions, they lie at the bottom of the table now. And I'll have to tell you, the way Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami today bowled, it was absolutely commendable effort by both of them. Mohammad Shami picking up 4 for 22, and that means 4 wickets on his home turf in Lucknow. Jasprit Bumrah again producing a very fine spell, picking up 3 wickets for 32 runs. None of the top 6 England batters were able to score more than 20 runs. In fact, the highest was 16 among the top 6 batters, and that itself reveals how good the Indian bowlers were and the kind of pressure that they had exacted on the English batters for them to be able to deliver this kind of a performance.
Okay.
And this sort of a win gives a lot of fuel to the dressing room.
Yes.
The fireworks is going off in the night sky in Lucknow, and it's a big belief that the Indian cricket team will take away from this win, having won 6 games on the trot in their
Yes, it's
home World
certainly
Cup.
huge. Rika, thank you so much. India wins the 6th match on the trot. India certainly is unbeaten in their home World Cup, and Pacers have handed India a huge win. With those images of celebrations, that's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.
Co-presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally.
आज खाने में क्या है?
पूछो कि आज कहाँ चलना है?
चलना कहाँ है?
बनारस चलोगे?
That was fast, right? But tech is evolving even quicker than our abilities to adapt, and that's how I like to roll. Technology तो आप सभी के पास है, but what you need is everything else. मेरा नाम है गौरव और अब मैं आ गया हूँ NDTV नेटवर्क पे, हर रोज, हर हफ्ते, अब आपके और पास. Go beyond the now.
And there's too much talking but very little being said. Too many voices but hardly any being heard. You turn to a show that puts you front and center. A show that headlines the stories of the people, by the people, for the people.
I said, okay, it's time for Victorians now to launch Delhi to London ride. And we had this 6 bikers and 2 to 3 SUVs. I'm actually surprised how people signed up because I had never done this before. But they had this confidence. I had this, reliability factor or confidence or Colonel Saab hai ho jayega.
Mike hai to
mumkin. People used to say that too.
And other health issues. The petitioner, like I said, is a 27-year-old already mother of 2. She explicitly told the Supreme Court of India that she is not in a position to take care of a 3rd child while she is still breastfeeding her 2nd. In fact, it was because she was breastfeeding that she didn't realize she was pregnant. On the 9th of October, the Supreme Court allowed the abortion. A day later, the government filed an application to recall the order, saying that the fetus is viable and has a heartbeat. 2 days later, brandishing this very report from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences Medical Board, the court gave a split verdict. They couldn't agree on whether a fetal heartbeat should be stopped or not. So the matter was then directed to a larger bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, which observed that the highest court of the land cannot overlook the rights of an unborn child. 7 days later, the Supreme Court rejected the abortion plea. This has once again reignited a pro-life versus pro-choice debate in the country. But before we get into the larger issue, let's look at the broad contours of what is the abortion law in India. Abortion is a criminal offence in India under Section 312 of the IPC. So a woman and her doctor can both potentially be sent to prison for carrying out an abortion. Then came the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act in 1971, which was later amended in 2002 and 2021, which essentially allows for abortions within gestational limits and with certain conditions. So pregnancy within 20 weeks is permitted with an opinion of one medical practitioner. The termination of a pregnancy between 20 to 24 weeks is allowed only under special circumstances with the medical opinion of 2 medical practitioners. And for an abortion at 25 weeks or beyond, a medical board is constituted and 2 conditions need to be met. One is grave fetal abnormality or threat to the life of the woman. In this case that we're talking about, neither of those 2 conditions, according to the court, were met, and hence the court did not allow the termination of pregnancy at 26 weeks, citing no threat to the mother and no threat to the child. So while in letter we have a progressive law, in spirit, the United Nations data shows that 8 women in India die every day due to unsafe abortions. The United Nations data says that an astounding 67% of abortions in India are illegal and therefore unsafe. So while abortion continues to be an exception and not the rule, women in India are either at the mercy of doctors or at the mercy of courts to terminate pregnancy. Caught between the right of the woman and the unborn child, tonight on the show we ask, whose heartbeat is it anyway? Joining us is a very esteemed panel in the studio. We have Mimamsa Singh Tanwar. She's a clinical psychologist associated with the Fortis Group of Hospitals. We have with us Dr. Amit Mishra. He's an advocate of the Supreme Court who moved the Supreme Court last year in the case of an unmarried woman seeking abortion, which led to a historic verdict in the Supreme Court last year. Thank you very much for being with us. We also have Dr. Nikhil Dattar, a senior gynecologist based in Mumbai. He's also a lawyer, and it is his fight for abortion rights that actually paved the way for amendments to the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act very recently. We have Professor Deepika Jain. She's a professor of law, Center for Justice, Law and Society at the Jindal Global Law School. And we also have Dr. Suchitra Dalvi. She's a consultant gynecologist and a coordinator for Asia Safe Abortion Partnerships. Thank you all very much for being with us on We the People. I want to begin, Dr. Amit, by asking you, it was your case in the Supreme Court last year that actually led to a very historic verdict in terms of widening the definition and scope of abortion in India. Do you look at this verdict, this recent verdict of the Supreme Court in 2023, therefore as a setback?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. When we compare with both the cases, last year judgment and this one judgment, then last year judgment was very progressive. And that was a landmark in itself also, which gave a reproductive choice, bodily integrity to the mother. And there was no difference between this case and the previous case. The difference is only one, that in the previous one, the lady was unmarried. And there was no threat to mother, there was no threat to child also. And in this case also, the facts are same. Difference is only this, I am married. In this case, there is no threat to as such mother, and there is no as such threat to fetus.
Right.
So difference is that in the previous one, I was unmarried. In this one, I was married. So why the difference between both of them? There was I was 25 weeks, here I was 26 weeks. So the question of fetal viability, I think, erroneous in this.
Okay.
Already there are landmark cases before this also, where 27 weeks, 28 weeks and 30 weeks also, 33 weeks abortions are granted by the Supreme Court and various high courts in India. And there, in all those cases, there is no danger to fetus or mother. Even after that, only on the ground of mental health, that there is a grave injury to the mother, only on that ground, the abortions are allowed. But I don't understand why in this case, being married, I was denied. So according to me, the justice was not done in this case.
Right. The Supreme Court, just for the benefit of our viewers, last year it delivered a very historic verdict, and Dr. Amit here was the petitioner in the case, where they'd expanded the scope of abortions in the country. They'd actually allowed for abortions up to 24 weeks with, of course, conditions. Abortions were also extended, to unmarried women. So it was a very historic verdict in a certain sense. But from what we understand, what's happened last year versus what's happened now is that there are very different interpretations of the law. So there are very different things that the court is saying in different cases. And I want to bring in Professor Deepika Jain into the conversation here, because Professor Jain, do you think this is very problematic, because you have different courts saying different things in different cases? I mean, what kind of precedence is this setting? This is leading to utter confusion on the ground, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is really about a classic case of legal indeterminacy, where different different judgments with similar circumstances are having different verdicts. And the reason is very clear. It's because the inconsistency around the abortion jurisprudence comes from a clear distinction between what a good abortion is and what a bad abortion is. So, for example, what Dr. Amit was saying, if it's a married woman, then it's a bad abortion. But if it's not a married woman, it's a young woman who's unmarried and has suffered sexual assault, then it is a good abortion, right? So there is that kind of distinction, and that's also because this perception is there both within the doctors, healthcare providers, and the judges. Now, this is not just how the adjudication happens, it's also the legal design of the law, which is the problem, where there is no centrality to the autonomy of the woman or the pregnant person, and because of which there is too much flip-flop that happens. So, for example, in this case itself, if you see, the first time the two bench judges allowed termination, then one of them felt, no, this is very heavy on my conscience. And then it went to the three judges, and they did flip-flop within their decisions through two medical board reports. So what is this telling us? That a woman's autonomy, while held as absolute last year in 2022 judgment, it's an absolute fundamental right, according to the judgment, has now been negotiated. And the negotiation is happening on biases, which is really problematic.
Right. And like I said, you know, what is the kind of precedences set for lower courts across the country? And let's just also, you know, tell our viewers over here that there are over 1,000 women that actually file abortion cases in courts. These are the number of cases fresh cases that are filed every year in our courts. And this is, again, a small percentage of women who have access to courts. So, you know, what's really happening on the ground as far as abortions is concerned, I think is available in that statistic where we learn from the United Nations data that there are 8 women losing their lives to unsafe abortions every year in the country. And I want to bring in Dr. Nikhil Dattar because he's a senior gynecologist, but he's also somebody, you know, who's been an architect in a certain sense of the amendments to the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Dr. Dattar, tell us what's really happening on the ground. I mean, you know, there are progressive versus regressive things that are being said in court, and all of that is one aspect. The letter of what is being said is one aspect, but in spirit, what is happening on the ground? Tell us.
So as you are aware of the fact that there was an amendment to the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, and now we have a new act which has kind of liberalized the terminations of pregnancy from 20 weeks to 24 weeks and even beyond 24 weeks. So definitely there is an improvement, but improvement is not enough actually, because there are still a lot of fallacies that I see in the amended law, and that's precisely why, and unfortunately, I have had to once again challenge the Termination of Pregnancy Amendment Act in the Supreme Court, citing the difficulties and the problems. And one of the biggest problems that I see over there, of course, one of it has already been solved by Advocate Amit last year, that is about this discrepancy caused because of the marital status.
Yes.
You know, now, the truth of the fact is that although there is a judgment which is delivered that married and unmarried women cannot be differentiated on the basis of their marital status, in terms of providing the termination of pregnancy, the ground level situation is that today, if there is a woman who is unmarried, not a rape survivor, not having an abnormality in the fetus, she goes to a hospital, the doctors in the hospital will say that, look, I have to follow the rules under the law. The rules under the law have not been changed so far. Judgments and all that, we have no understanding of all that. We can't keep up with judgments and all that.
So 1 minute, can I just interrupt you there and understand, Dr. Mishra, you're saying that there have been judgments of the Supreme Court and other courts, but the rules on the ground has not been changed. So governments have not been notified. So doctors are still reluctant to carry out abortions. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, so what is happening is that although you have recognized all these things there in the code and in print, but on ground reality there is no change. Now, second big problem that I see with the amendments is that if you see even a minor girl who is a rape survivor, imagine a girl who is 12 years and 13 years and she is found to be pregnant, and it's very common that very young girls, I mean, they just by virtue of being too young, you know, by the time people notice that they are pregnant, they are many a times beyond 24 weeks. And in spite of that fact that she is a young girl, the amended Termination of Pregnancy Act also does not still allow a termination of pregnancy to her. Now,
because the condition beyond 24 weeks is only 2, threat to life of child or threat to life of mother.
Correct. And the third big problem that I see in the amendments is that they have come up with this medical board. And if you look at the whole architecture of the medical board, the way the medical boards have been made, it's very funny actually, because the medical board is supposed to have one pediatrician, one radiologist, and one gynecologist minimally on the board. While on the other hand, your medical termination of pregnancy 1971 Act says, and the rules thereunder say, that the person who can terminate the pregnancy has to not be a doctor only, but has to have a certain degree of experience / qualification in doing medical termination of pregnancies per se. So typically a gynecologist. So in short, if at all on your board only one gynecologist is there and other non-gynecologists are there who have got no qualification / experience in doing termination of pregnancy, I mean, how shoddily or how effectively is that board going to function when people sitting on the board don't have the required qualifications or experience? So in short, it's kind of a sham, I would say, that these boards may not effectively work and provide justice to a woman just by virtue of making it in a very shoddy manner.
You've raised several very important points, and I think the moot point here, the larger question it all comes back to is, whether we just need to decriminalize abortions in India, and whether that's really going to be, the end game solution to a lot of problems that several panelists have raised. But I want to also, delve into the other side of the debate. Dr. Suchitra, if I can bring you into the conversation here, we have very stringent laws in place because of the threat of feticide. Even in this particular case in the Supreme Court, the petitioners who argued against the abortion said that, killing or terminating a viable pregnancy when there's no threat to the mother or to the child amounts to feticide. But feticide has also been a very real problem, continues to be a very real problem. Do you think there is some level of confusion when it comes to abortions versus the threat of feticide?
Thank you for asking that question. It's actually, requires much longer and deeper conversation. But just to put it very briefly, I think the conversation really needs to be central to the person who's pregnant and what it means for them to not have to continue an unwanted pregnancy. I think all other questions, including the last 2 decades conversation around feticide, specifically female feticide, needs to really center around the conversation of gender discrimination and the status of women in our society. And I think this is what is coming up even in this judgment, is that the person who's pregnant, the woman herself, her autonomy and agency were not given priority. And, by bringing in the fetus into the conversation in the first place, I think is what has muddied the waters. Going back to what the others have said also, does a woman as a citizen of this country have the right to decide what to do with her body or not? And I think that really is the central question. And it's been addressed by other courts earlier. So the Mumbai High Court in a judgment a couple of years ago said very clearly, and this was with regards to a woman who was in prison. And they said her external circumstances don't matter. If she's pregnant and doesn't want to continue it, she has every right to not continue the pregnancy.
Right.
And in the right to privacy judgment that was passed, when the Aadhaar conversation was happening, also a statement was made, not as part of the judgment, but another statement saying the right to privacy also includes the woman's right to take decisions about her own body in a private sphere.
Right.
Not having it opened up to a debate and, having to go to court. So I think this woman particularly was failed at many levels, even before she reached the Supreme Court, in terms of being able to have ownership over her own body.
But this is the larger question that I asked, right? That there are so many different interpretations, so many different cases where different judgments have been delivered circumstantially, that it's very hard to actually understand what really, is the basis on which courts are taking these decisions. But, I want to also address the elephant in the room. Mimamsa is with us in the studios as well. Thank you very much for being with us. The larger question here, and, just taking off from what Dr. Suchitra Dalvi said as well about the moot point, does a woman really have the right over her own body? And are we completely ignoring the fact that, when you talk about the viability of the fetus and you talk about no threat to the mother, which were the 2 reasons that were cited in this particular judgment, are we completely ignoring the psychological factor, of this debate?
Oh, absolutely. I think we are completely denying and not acknowledging the mental health aspect over here, because if the woman is struggling with peripartum depression, there are obviously certain signs and symptoms that is going to impact her ability in child rearing And even during the pregnancy, it is high likely possibility that this woman is going to struggle to be able to deal with it at a psychological level, the impact that it is going to have. And we also need to understand the kind of psychological impact that a woman has. I mean, for any women, bearing and rearing a child is something which is so close to them emotionally. Now, in a situation like this where a woman is going through either peripartum or postpartum depression, some of the symptoms and the signs are about not being able to feel connected to the child that is there.
Right.
And the guilt, the shame, the sadness, all of those symptoms that are there that the woman is experiencing at that point in time is something that one also needs to look at, and which is where mental health rights, I mean, we are talking about so many other things over here when it comes to the act, but what about the mental health rights of an individual who's struggling with the mental health problem? And it needs to be looked at intersectionally. Just because we have one act, and of course it's a welcome act, it's something that we need, but we also need to look at mental health aspects in different medical conditions as well.
Right.
For any individual who's struggling with mental illness to be able to recognize, because over here we are talking about their ability to also decide, to choose for themselves what are their rights.
Yes.
And where there is already so much stigma when it comes to mental health.
And also, you know, if we are talking about the rights of the unborn child, and in this case the Supreme Court has clearly given primacy to the rights of the unborn child versus that of the woman, then I think the larger question is, what is the impact of carrying through a pregnancy like that on the child that you're bringing into the world? You know, it's not the end of the story, it's only the beginning of a new one. So I think that ignites several questions. But that brings me to my point, Dr. Amit, if you want to come back into the conversation, because if I understand this correctly, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act very clearly says that they will consider risk to a woman's physical and mental health. But that's again up to a certain gestational limit. That doesn't make any sense, does it?
If we see the MTP Act, basically, if we see the overall scheme and purpose, object of the Act, basically this Act is made for the mother, not the fetus. So we have to take into consideration the mother. Here the paramount consideration is mother only. So we have to see her physical and mental health both. There are several judgments which have been passed before this case where there is no abnormality to the fetus, there is no danger to the life of the mother. Even then the Supreme Court and various High Court have passed the order only on the ground of grave injury to the physical and mental health of the woman. So why this case was different from others? How this case, there was no difference between this case and the other one. 3 months back, on 21st of August 2023, the Honorable Supreme Court, 2-judge bench, decided to allow 27 weeks termination of pregnancy to a rape survivor. After 3 months, now this is the judgment where it has been denied. And here I am 26 weeks only on the ground of merit. So I think I have been discriminated and my mental conditions have been ignored, and mental health is completely ignored in my case. And moreover, along with mental health, there are several other factors which are not being considered, like physical, financially, emotionally, socially, psychologically. All have been ignored.
So what needs to happen? I think the latter part of our conversation, we've addressed the problem, and I think all of you have brilliantly explained to us, both anecdotally and in terms of what the law says as to what the law is and what the problems with the law very apparently are. Dr. Nikhil Datar, if I can begin by asking you solutions. What do you think needs to be done immediately in order to address some of these glaring problems with the abortion laws in India?
I think first and foremost, collectively, we as a society, whether we are doctors, judges or whatever, the first thing that we need to understand that there is a big difference in the word fetus vis-a-vis word child. Right. Primarily calling it as an unborn child itself is wrong. Mentally, you cannot consider it as a child, it's a fetus. And emotionally, morally, ethically and legally, if you look at the jurisprudence internationally, then it is extremely clear that the fetus is not supposed to have an independent right of a human being.
Right.
Unless until it is born alive on the earth. The minute it gets disconnected from the mother, it becomes an independent human being and all the rights of a human accrue to it. Up till that, it is the mother's right that prevails at all points of time. It has to be considered as an appendage, as an organ of the mother. And that is why the mother's right has to at all points of time be supreme, number one.
Right. I think which is why we asked that question at the very outset, you know, as to whose heartbeat is it anyway.
Absolutely.
I'm going to urge you to make your points very quickly because I do want to get in final comments from the other panelists as well.
Yeah, so 2-3 quick questions. If you are going to be bothered about stopping the fetal heart, then any termination, even termination done at 7 weeks of pregnancy also ultimately means extinguishing
Absolutely.
of that.
So why have that difference? Professor Deepika Jain.
Third thing is that we need to understand that women who come to the court are victims of circumstances. They are not coming there to establish their rights and all that.
Absolutely.
They are people who need help. And if you don't want to help them, there is no point in discussing about this.
And like I said, only a small percentage of women actually make it to courts. The others are accessing unsafe abortions, which is why we have that glaring statistic. Professor Deepika Jain.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify because I don't think that clarification has come in here. The bench did not find legal grounds for termination because the law says that after 24 weeks, you cannot terminate except on 2 grounds.
Yes.
But actually, if you could have interpreted 5.1 broadly, which has been done in 2 jurisprudence in the past, where it has meant to preserve the life of the woman because there was immediate risk to a threat because of psychosis. So I think there was legal ground is what I want to establish. Otherwise, the problem is with the law, which is what Justice Chandrachud was stating in the courtroom. That's number one, which is really important to state. But the second thing, I think it's really important to understand that there is no right of the woman within this law, and we need to establish that. While there is jurisprudence that establishes it, there is no legislative understanding of that. And so the 312 and the 318 of the IPC has to go because that is what is criminalizing all of this abortion, which is provided legally by abortion service providers, and anything that falls outside will create fear of prosecution. Obviously, nobody wants to get into this.
Yes.
So that is one. And then there are conflicting legislations like POCSO, where one needs to read it harmoniously because the MPC conflicts with POCSO in terms of access to adolescent healthcare. So all of this creates a very draconian carceral framework which needs to be addressed. We cannot have a carceral framework protecting rights of pregnant persons. Obviously, this is where the problem is.
So in a certain sense, decriminalizing abortions in India is going to be a good starting point, really. Dr. Suchitra Dalvi, final comments to you.
Yeah, I completely agree that decriminalization is the way to go. And as a doctor, I would also like to say that, as a gynecologist, I, being qualified and trained and certified, provide so many more procedures which are far more, in a sense, dangerous. But I'm allowed to do so because I'm trained to do so. So there's really no need for a law to control, the interaction of providing an abortion service to a woman who needs it, no matter at what gestation age. Because conducting a cesarean section at full-term delivery definitely has higher risks. But we're allowed to do it because we're qualified.
So you're saying the gestational argument doesn't essentially make any sense?
Exactly. And the expertise of the doctor, once you're qualified, trained, certified someone, you should allow that interaction to happen the way you would, say, with open heart surgery or any other major surgery. It should be an interaction between the doctor and the woman herself. Bringing in many other people creates a third party, which is a violation of your human rights. In terms of your autonomy of decision making as well. So definitely decriminalization would be the way to go.
All right. Well, like I said, we've touched upon what is clearly a very sensitive issue, an issue, like I said, where if you read the letter of the law, it may seem that India is better than a lot of countries in the world that have completely, rolled back in a certain sense legal abortion. So, but in spirit, if you actually look at the law, there are so many things that still need to be addressed. We have miles to go as far as granting women the right over their own body, which, like I said, begged us to ask the question at the very outset, whose heartbeat is it anyway? We'll continue to track stories like this on We the People. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good night.
From breaking news to in-depth analysis, covering the latest developments across politics,
business and technology,
bringing you stories that shape our nation and the world.
Now I want to go back to that story, which is one of my favorite stories that I have heard from you. And it's a beautiful story about how, despite a lot of activity, you eventually don't get the outcome. And I think Mike tells it in a very interesting way, and I'll let Mike do that.
Yeah. So this is a story in our regiment. We were in Kota, And there was this town hall kind of a meeting which was happening. And so in a town hall, so there's GOC, deputy GOC sitting, and the garrison engineer, and all these people are sitting.
These are all the senior leaders
providers
sitting and talking to the rank and file, all
audience.
the troops and their
Yes,
wives
yes.
and families and all of that.
They're talking to the families, and they basically want to get a feedback as to is their life okay in the cantonment. So, I mean, a lot of question answering was going on and a lot of feedback was being given. And one thing which caught our attention was when this lady, and she was a wife of a Jawan, of a Maratha light infantry, and she got up and she spoke in English. So once she spoke in English, everybody's attention goes to her, and she said, "Sir, I have a question." And so everybody, there was a silence because not many Jawans ladies actually
At
ask
that
you,
time, at least.
at that stage, used to ask a question in English. So there was a silence, and the general sitting there, he said, "Yes, madam." So she said, "Sir, there is no water in my tap. In my house, there is a tap, one tap. We take water from it, we cook our food, we drink that water, but there is no water in my tap. But I have to tell you that whenever I have complained, like 1 month back, there was no water in my tap. I complained to G, and I wrote in the register complaint, and very efficiently by afternoon, one person came and he checked if there's water in the tap, and then he checked and he went up to the storage tank on the top, and he said, "Ma'am, हमने ठीक कर दिया, आपका पानी आ जाएगा."
जब पीछे से रिलीज होगा,
जब रिलीज होगा तो पानी आ जाएगा, शाम तक पानी आएगा, शाम को जब पानी आता है रेगुलर तो आएगा आपका पानी. But in the evening, no water in my tap, sir. Next day, I again go to the complaint box and I write a complaint and I tell that JCO, कि साहब, there is no water in my tap. I complained yesterday also. He said, "Madam, मैं अभी ये सब बंद करके आपके साथ चलता हूँ. Let me see क्या है." गया and he went. He came to my house efficiently. He came, he checked out. He said, "I think pipe change होगा, मैडम. कल मैं pipe order करूँगा, आके change करेंगे और हो जाना चाहिए." Next day, efficiently, new pipes came. It will all changed, and they said, "शाम को पानी आएगा, आपके पास आ जाना चाहिए." In the evening, there is no water in my tap. Now I again go after 1 week of struggle. I again go to the G, and this time they say, "Madam, आप AG साहब को मिल लीजिए." And I met AG, and AG said, "How is this possible? I will myself come to your house and see how this was not done. I'll bring everybody." And he brought a contractor and everybody, and they all came in and they checked. So, sir, I want to tell this house that for 15 days, I am still borrowing water from my neighbors, and there is no water in my tap. Everybody is efficient. I can't falter anybody. Big efficiency, responsiveness, coming to my house.
Lot of harkat.
Everything is happening. But there is no water in the tap. What is the point? Now, in this, there is a very large...
The Andhra train collision, at least 6 people are confirmed dead. We'll get you ground reports also from the Kerala blast site, but first a quick look at the headlines. At least 6 dead as a passenger train derails in Andhra Pradesh. A train collision leaves several hurt near Visakhapatnam. The Chief Minister now says ambulances and aid is rushed to the spot. In the Kerala serial blasts, 2 confirmed dead, over 50 injured. Multiple blasts at a prayer meeting in Kochi. The Anti-Terror Act UAPA is invoked in the serial blast case. This is a 48-year-old now claims responsibility and surrenders before the police. The Chief Minister now calls for an all-party meeting on the Kerala blast. This as the BJP takes a swipe, says this is the price that Kerala is paying for appeasement politics. Chief Minister Vijayan responds, he says the BJP minister is spewing poison. On battleground Gaza, Israel Prime Minister says it's going to be a long and difficult war ahead. Hamas meanwhile says free Palestinian prisoners in exchange of hostages. Will the war turn into a regional conflict? This is Israel's Gaza incursion is now a turning point in the war. And what a victory! India thrash England in a World Cup thriller. The men in blue win by 100 runs against England. And with the 6th win on the trot, India is unbeaten on the home turf.
Oh, what a performance this by India.
And our lead story tonight, the deadly train collision in Andhra Pradesh. At least 6 people are confirmed dead. This is what we are breaking at this hour. This train incident took place at Kantakapalli in Andhra Pradesh, and it was actually a passenger train that collided with another train. It's yet to be confirmed whether that was an express train or a passenger train. But the train stopped due to an overhead cable is what preliminary reports seem to suggest. Of course, these are all preliminary reports. There will be more clarity once there's confirmation on the cause of the derailment. Uma Sudhir, our senior colleague, is now with us on the phone line. So, Uma, these shots and visuals that we are putting on our screen are absolutely horrific. You know, the derailment seems quite bad. What is the situation on the ground? Aid has been rushed to the spot, and 6 are now confirmed dead.
Yes, indeed. The official statements about the number of dead is not released, but yes, we are hearing from officials and the reporters on the ground that 6 people are feared dead, and they are suspecting that the number could even go up. What I understand is that as many as 40 people are injured, and they have been shifted to hospitals. Ambulances have also been asked to be brought in from Visakhapatnam and Anakapalli, which are nearby districts. What had happened was that the Visakhapatnam-Raigad passenger train was going from Visakhapatnam towards Raigad. And at Vijayanagaram, we were told that there is some overhead cable that had snapped, because of which the train stopped there, and the passengers were actually getting quite restless. That's what the eyewitnesses, in fact, a passenger on the train has said, that we were getting restless and thinking that we are getting very delayed. And that's when this Palasa passenger came by, and it hit this the stationary train. And as many as 4 bogies now have been derailed. And what we understand is that there is also a goods train that was standing next to it, and therefore, when it fell on the other train as well, there could be people who are still trapped inside, and that's why the rescue operation is still going on in the area. What we do know is that this is the main line, and the information had in fact come in quite, I should say, at least 4 hours, 5 hours earlier. At about 5 p.m. is when the first indication that something has gone wrong has happened. But by the time the help could reach the people and help the people who are trapped inside, take them out. There were elderly as well as children who were trapped inside those bogies, and they had to be taken out. And even now, the search operation, in fact, is on. The Chief Minister has reacted to this accident and said that all the injured will be taken care of. Adequate, proper treatment would be given in the hospitals, and he has said that all the ambulances should be rushed to the area so that no one who requires emergency medical help is not deprived of it.
Right, and as you pointed out, it was a passenger train that actually hit a stationary train. That is what preliminary reports seem to suggest. But in the larger context of the East Coast Railway and its vulnerability, because, just a few months back, in fact, we saw that horrific Balasore incident as well. These tracks are pretty vulnerable, and these incidents expose that, isn't it?
Certainly. As of now, they're calling it a technical issue because of which the passenger train had stopped. And yes, you are right that this is very worrisome because we have the biggest network and something that the country is proud of. But this kind of an accident happening on the track, 2 trains coming onto the same tracks, you would think there would be enough of a signaling warning that would have stopped the earlier train. And we are talking about technology that does not allow these kind of crashes to happen for one train to ram into the other. But as of now, we cannot comment on why exactly the accident happened. Officials preliminarily are saying there was a technical problem because of which the accident has happened. Both the ministers have also reached the spot as of now and overseeing the rescue operation.
Right, Uma, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. The cause of the accident is yet to be ascertained, but of course, pretty unfortunate there that 6 people have died, and unfortunately, the death toll is expected to rise. And moving now to the other big headline. 2 women have died and 50 others are seriously injured in the serial blasts that rocked Kochi in Kerala today. 3 back-to-back blasts were reported at a convention centre where a prayer meeting was organised by a Christian group in Kochi. A 48-year-old man has now surrendered, claiming responsibility, and UAPA, the stringent anti-terror law, has been invoked in this particular case. The NIA, the anti-terror agency, will be probing this particular incident. In fact, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has also commented on the issue, saying that it's unfortunate and a special team has been formed to investigate the incident, and that team will be led by a senior police official. And joining me now live on the broadcast, Pratibha Raman. She is at the site of the blasts. Pratibha, what are you seeing on the ground? Because these blasts have really shocked the entire nation. Multiple blasts at that prayer meeting. What is the situation on the ground?
Well, in fact, as we speak, I'm here stationed right outside the convention center, the blast site, and the NSG team is already here, and a thorough investigation is on at this point in time at the site of the blast, and multiple agencies are involved, including the NIA that is conducting the investigation at this point in time. Now, a two-pronged approach has been undertaken by these agencies. One, the timing of the blast, especially this comes a little after a day or two of the rally that was organized by a special group expressing solidarity with the Palestinians, and that particular rally was also addressed by a Hamas leader at that point in time. And number two is, like you mentioned, a person who has come forward reportedly confessing to this, and a video that has also been doing the rounds as we speak, which also claims of Dominic claiming that he has allegedly taken this drastic step, almost believing that he does not really confer with the kind of values that are being inculcated or that are being believed by this particular religious gathering, that is the Jehovah's Witnesses group. And these two approaches are being investigated by the police, the special team that has been organized by Pinarayi Vijayan. And Pinarayi Vijayan, in the meantime, has also called for an all-party meet tomorrow. Now, with respect to this investigation, an FIR has also surfaced, an FIR that has been registered by the police, where both the UAPA as well as the Explosives Act have been invoked. So at this point in time, nothing can be ascertained until the investigation is thoroughly complete. And this is what we hear from police sources. More details would be awaited once the investigation is complete.
Absolutely, Pratibha, and also larger questions on perhaps intelligence failure and a security lapse also being raised as far as the Kerala government is concerned. So the ball is really in the Kerala government's court now, with that all-party meeting also being called. But how is the investigation going to go forward as far as the terror link is concerned? Because that is yet to be established.
That's right. The FIR has been the first step that has been taken forward by the police, and whether the case would be handed over to the NIA is also something that the police, the investigation team of the Kerala police is now looking at. But nothing really can be ascertained at this point in time. More details would emerge once the investigation is complete, with the multiple agencies that are in talks at this point in time right at this convention center. More details perhaps tomorrow.
Much for joining us with all those details. Pratibha Raman there reporting from the blast site in Kerala. But take a look at how these blasts actually panned out today and what was the political fallout. Take a look. Back-to-back blasts within minutes of each other. The final day of a prayer meet in Kochi's Kerala ended tragically. 3 blasts ripped through this congregation at the convention centre in Kerala's Kalamasheri. 2 women have died and over 50 people injured. Cops suspect improvised explosive device was kept inside tiffin boxes at the location.
So totally 52 persons were brought to the hospitals, including medical college. Here 37 persons were brought injured.
While the NIA team rushed in from Kochi and another team from Delhi set off for the location, one person, identified as Dominic Martin, surrendered before the police within few hours and claimed responsibility. The 48-year-old claimed that he had differences with Jehovah's Witness, the Christian sect that organizes a prayer meet.
one person has surrendered in Kodagara police station in Thrissur rural in the morning, claiming that he has done it. His name is Dominic Martin, and he claims that he belongs to the same group of Sabha. We are verifying.
This is the second terror incident in Kerala, followed by the train fire back in April, where 3 people had died. Besides that, the NIA had also busted a Kerala-based ISIS module in July. With multiple terror instances being reported in Kerala, the spotlight is on the Pinarayi Vijayan government, which has called the case serious. Congress MP Shashi Tharoor tweeted, saying, and I quote, "To see my state falling prey to the mentality of killing and destruction is tragic."
We must not forget that this type of appeasement politics history, we have seen it in the history of India, always causes innocent lives to be lost.
These are early days of investigation, and both the Kerala police and the NIA are probing the incident. Whether this was one person's vendetta against the event organizers or a larger terror plot, that remains to be seen. With Arvind Gunasekar, Bureau Report, NDTV. So many unanswered questions there, but moving now to the big political headline. Well, the BJP is upping its ante as far as TMC MP Mahua Moitra is concerned, who now finds herself cornered in the cash for questions controversy. In fact, BJP national spokesperson Shehzad Poonawalla launched a scathing attack on Mahua Moitra, alleging that she was trying to hoodwink the public with her interviews. In fact, BJP MP Nishikant Dubey is also upping the ante as far as Mahua Moitra is concerned. But the TMC MP has hit back, alleging that from cash for questions to national security, the BJP is shifting the goalposts. Meanwhile, what's now the latest development is that 2 statements of Mahua Moitra are now out in the public domain. One is as per her defamation plea in the High Court, where she has denied allegations of breach of parliamentary privilege entirely, and then in her interviews where she admits that she did share her MP login credentials with Darshan Hiranandani's office. Vasudha Venugopal has the latest on this.
While TMC MP Mahua Moitra, who is at the center of this cash for queries scam controversy, has been giving TV interviews in the last 2 days, alleging that she is basically a victim of a hit job, and she has basically denied a lot of these allegations, basically of taking cash for asking questions. She has also admitted to some of them, especially of sharing login credentials with industrialist Darshan Hiranandani, and also taking some gifts from him, which include some makeup items, and also letting him arrange her travel when she's in Mumbai. Now, this, of course, has been termed problematic by many experts and lawyers who have pointed to an existing defamation case that she has filed against Mr. Jay Anand Dehadrai. Mr. Dehadrai is the lawyer who basically brought out this complaint against her, and he has also gone to the CBI with it, and also against Mr. Nishikant Dubey, a BJP MP who was the first to flag this complaint to the Ethics Committee. Now, Mahua Moitra is fighting a defamation case against Mr. Dubey and Mr. Dehadrai, and in her defamation case, in her petition at the Delhi High Court, she has denied all the allegations that have been raised by these 2 people, and she has refuted all the allegations of sharing her login credentials with Mr. Darshan Hiranandani, and also taking any sort of gifts from him. Now, of course, she has admitted to parts of it in her interviews, which is what lawyers and experts say amounts to lying in the court document, which is why they feel that there could be some action against her. What we hear from our sources is that there could also be a case for perjury, and a separate case moved against her for attempting to lie in the court or lying in a court document. That will be, of course, seen on October 31st when the case comes for hearing. Remember, on October 21st, when the case was being heard for the first time, there was a lot of drama in the Delhi High Court because the judge had publicly reprimanded Ms. Moitra's counsel for trying to negotiate with Mr. Dehadrai for a settlement without disclosing that he was the lawyer for Ms. Moitra, and after which the lawyer had basically withdrawn from the case. So it remains to be seen on October 31st what the court decides on this matter.
Well, so far it's all in the realm of allegations. We'll take a short break now. News continues on the other side.
अक्सर ऐसा होता है कि आपके फोन के स्क्रीन पे बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन है. मे बी यू आर ऑन अ वेब पेज, या मे बी यू आर रीडिंग अ बुक लेट्स से, या अगर कुछ भी बहुत ज़्यादा टेक्स्ट है, कई बार बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस आ जाते हैं. समटाइम्स इट्स दिस लेजी फीलिंग, या समटाइम्स इट्स मोर कन्वीनियंट कि अगर कोई आपको वो सब चीज़ें पढ़ के सुना दे. लेट मी गिव यू अ टेक टिप. आपके फ़ोन में एक इनबिल्ट ऑप्शन होता है टेक्स्ट टू स्पीच का. Either you are using Android or iOS, फर्क नहीं पड़ता, दोनों केसेस में आपको ये ऑप्शन मिल जाएगा. You just need to dig deep into the accessibility settings, और वहाँ से you can even customize the output speech options कि आपको किस स्पीड में वो स्पीच चाहिए, या फिर किस टाइप की आपको वॉइस चाहिए, और आप बड़े आराम से जो भी आपके स्क्रीन पे है वो सुन सकते हैं.
Text to speech is a feature that reads digital text aloud. Words on a computer or other digital device can be converted into audio using this.
कभी कभी ये आलस के मारे आप करेंगे, कभी कभी करेंगे आप कन्वीनियंस के मामले में, बट इट्स अ नाइस टिप टू फॉलो कि आप आपके स्क्रीन पे जो भी है वो सुन भी सकते हैं, बिकॉज व्हाट यू आर यूजिंग इज नॉट अ डम फोन, इट्स अ
Welcome back. It's been an incredible victory for the men in blue. The Indian team has beaten England by 100 runs. And well, India has completed a true demolition job against England. And well, what's really the big headline here is that India has won its 6th match on the trot and it remains unbeaten at their home turf. And Rika Roy is now live with us. So, Rika, quite an incredible victory there. How do you see this match? And well, of course, as I said, India has been unbeaten, as far as its home turf is concerned.
That's right, and it's been by far the biggest victory for Team India in this World Cup. 100 runs is a huge margin of victory, primarily handed down to Team India by its bowling unit. Mohammad Shami picking up 4 wickets, and also Jasprit Bumrah taking 3 wickets this evening. They exerted a lot of pressure on the opposition, and as a result, the English batters were unable to come up with a strategy against the Indian pace duo. In the beginning, when they bowled 5 overs, they forced the English batters to play 14 false shots. In that span, they took out 4 key wickets. Because of the pressure that put on the English batters, they were unable to get a credible score. 129 was what they were able to score against while chasing 230 runs. This is also a big win that takes Team India closer to the semi-final spot that they are really playing for. Right now, it's the business end of the tournament. So 3 matches left to be played against Sri Lanka, against South Africa, and against Netherlands. The Indian cricket team is on a roll. I would say this by far was the toughest match for them in the entire World Cup so far. And that's not because of the opposition they faced, not because of the quality of the opposition, but the pitch, the deck on which they played. Rohit Sharma scored 87 runs, which looked to everyone as perhaps one of the toughest half centuries he has scored in his career. This was his 54th half century, and that really helped India pile up 229 runs. At that point in mid-innings, we were talking about the fact that this may be 20 or 30 runs short. But the way the Indian bowling unit thereafter came out and exerted pressure on the Indian batters, it told the story of India's complete domination in this World Cup.
So, well, the men in blue truly on a roll, Rika, as you said, and the Pacers emerged as the true stars of this game. But of course, this match was happening in Lucknow at the Ekana Stadium, and well, you can see the excitement there. The fans really had quite a Paisa Vasool show, as they say. My colleague Tanishq was outside the Ekana Stadium and he sent us this report.
वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है, वर्ल्ड कप आएगा हमारे।
1983 से देख रहा है, ये वर्ल्ड कप भी हमारा ही है। आज हमारा इंग्लैंड को हरा दिया, मगर दिल है हिंदुस्तान, तो हम जीतेंगे वर्ल्ड कप। ये नसा हुसैन की टोपी है। अच्छा, ये नंबर देख लेना, नसा हुसैन की टोपी है। मैंने 1983 वर्ल्ड कप जीता, साउथ अफ्रीका में हार गए थे, 2011 जीत गए थे। ये वर्ल्ड कप हमारा है, यू नो आई मीन, एंड हमारी बॉलिंग टू गुड है। हमारी बैटिंग थोड़ी इंप्रूव करना चाहिए, यू नो आई मीन। वर्ल्ड कप
2011 रिपीट होएगा, 2011 विल बी रिपीटेड अगेन, 2011 फिर से रिपीट होगा। Huge excitement here. Fans are really happy. This is a huge victory by over 100 runs. In Lucknow with camera person Rajesh Gupta, Tanish Punjabi for NDTV.
हम लोग बहुत खुश हैं, इंडिया हमारा जीत गया। शमी के बॉलिंग, शमी का तो कोई जवाब ही नहीं है, शमी का तो कोई जवाब ही नहीं है।
विक्रम नाम है, लखनऊ से ही हूँ। इंडिया ने धमाल कर दिया है, सेमीफाइनल फाइनल में पहुँच रही इंडिया।
अच्छा लग रहा है।
किसकी सबसे अच्छा लगा?
मोहम्मद शमी।
बॉलिंग है इंडिया की सुपरस्टार बॉलिंग, बेस्ट बॉलिंग ऑफ द टूर्नामेंट।
नहीं, बिल्कुल स्लो नहीं था, इंडिया पे पूरा भरोसा है और इंडिया जीत गई।
बहुत अमेजिंग, बहुत अमेजिंग। फर्स्ट हाफ में इतना ज्यादा बोर हो गई थी, मुझे नींद आने लगी। पहले तो लगा हार जाएंगे, लेकिन जो सेकंड हाफ में जो इंडिया ने खेला है, मजा आ गया।
And well, now the latest on the Israel-Hamas war, and the hostage challenge really remains a key one. In fact, Hamas has now said we will free hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. But why is this such a complex challenge as far as Israel is concerned? Mohammad Ghazali has this report.
So what happens to more than 220 hostages who are there in Hamas's captivity in Gaza Strip? The first option, which looked very favorable for US, Hamas, Israel and everyone else, was the diplomatic negotiations, or what we call mediation. Qatar, one of the Middle Eastern countries, has played this role even in the past, and even in this crisis it played its role, which led to the release of 4 hostages by Hamas. But after that there has been no progress as far as hostages are concerned. The second was an offer made by Hamas, which was called hostage for ceasefire. Israel has an ethos of never leaving anyone behind, dead or alive. Hamas offered release of hostages in exchange of a ceasefire, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already declared a war against Hamas, may not give any reprieve to Hamas. Now, the third major concern is the safety of hostages. For any negotiations to proceed, Hamas will have to ensure the safety of hostages. And though Hamas has been claiming that many hostages have been killed in the aerial bombardment or invasion by Israel, none of the Western agencies or agencies of Israel have confirmed any such reports. So it is being believed that all the hostages are safe and alive in the captivity of Hamas. The most important part is that how long Hamas can hold the hostages. We have seen that to gather a lot of diplomatic support or international support or sympathy, Hamas may have released 4 hostages, but that was just intended to gain more sympathy and support from international community. But can Hamas afford to keep these hostages for a long period? That can't be ruled out, because we had seen that how Hamas had kept one Israeli soldier for 5 years and later released him in exchange of more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners who were kept in Israel's prison. So this is also a big challenge. Another big challenge is that if Israel goes into Gaza, and which it already has, the military operation may jeopardize the safety of these hostages, which is a big concern not only for Israel but also for the relatives and the loved ones of those who are there in Israel, who are every day praying that Israel somehow manages to get these hostages back.
And well, apart from the hostage challenge, there are many other challenges, including back-channel talks and diplomacy and how it has failed. What are some of the main challenges and roadblocks as far as peace in Gaza is concerned? Mohammad Ghazali breaks it down for us.
The Israeli Defense Forces have now entered into the Gaza Strip, and in this segment we are trying to explain that what are going to be the operational challenges for IDF. The first major challenge would be to tackle the threat from underground tunnels. The warren of tunnels, nicknamed Gaza Metro, allows Hamas to stockpile arms and ammunition and also helps Hamas member to flee in any crisis. But the most important part of this underground tunnel is that it will help Hamas to launch surprise attacks. Now the threat will not just be from beneath the ground, but it will be from above as well. Enemy forces are not only in front of attackers but can also threaten them from above by utilizing surrounding buildings. Buildings, whether standing or destroyed, can help Hamas for surprise attacks. Besides that, booby traps including sophisticated improvised explosive devices, ambushes and snipers are other means to be used by Hamas terrorists. Soldiers will be tasked with the dangerous mission of clearing Gaza street by street as they attempt to rid the territory of estimated 50,000 Hamas terrorists. Now this will be the biggest challenge because it is part of the urban warfare where IDF will be expected to get into a street-to-street fight with Hamas terrorists, which is going to be very tough. Now the most important part of this operation is the safety of hostage. The biggest challenge will be the hostage safety. The actual number of hostages in Gaza is changing almost every day. It's not only Hamas which has abducted Israeli civilians or citizens, but there are other offshore groups which also claim to have Israeli citizens in their captivity. And with heavy bombardment and intense ground incursion, the safety of hostage will be a big challenge. The last and the most important part is the heavy casualty, because limiting collateral damage and civilian casualties will be a major challenge for the IDF in this operation, as well as for the troops, because Israel will never like to get into another hostage situation. The ethos of Israeli defense forces are very clear that they don't leave their men behind, and this operation is being launched to ensure that all the hostages, which is as of now more than 220, should be brought back to Israel safely. And amid all this bombardment and ground operations, their safety and to retrieve them back safely would be the biggest challenge.
So, well, peace in Gaza is still a pipe dream, and with Israel's invasion, unfortunately, the worst is yet to come. We'll take a short break now. There's more on the other side.
Why go elsewhere when you can save up to rupees 8,000 on your car insurance on Policy Bazaar? Can't believe it? You explain.
जब पॉलिसी बाजार पर कार इंश्योरेंस पे 8,000 रुपए तक बच सकते हैं तो कहीं और क्यों जाना है?
पॉलिसी बाजार से कंपेयर करके कार इंश्योरेंस खरीदो और 8,000 रुपए तक बचाओ.
Dalhousie in an EV?
Yeah. Goes 461 kilometers in just one charge.
But Dalhousie is 600 kilometers away. Where are the charging stations?
Everywhere.
With over 6,000 public charging stations across.
A cup of hope.
A cup of joy.
Can India lift it at home after 12 years?
We will follow their journey through the length and breadth of the country.
Through every twists and turns.
On Turning Point, on NDTV 24/7.
Even as a young cadet and as a young officer, I know that you were spending a lot of time exploring, which not necessarily all officers do. I myself haven't done as much as you have. Well, barely even a tenth of it. But you used to find the time, even in the forces, to take off and
India remain unbeaten, the men in blue sitting comfortably on top of the points table. Hello and welcome to Turning Point. I'm Osama Shab. India beat the Three Lions as the Indian bowlers decimated an underconfident England batting lineup. England chasing 230 were bundled out for a mere 129, giving India a 100-run win at the Ekana Stadium in Lucknow. My colleague Tanishq was there after India's victory. This is what the atmosphere was after that India win.
इंडिया वर्ल्ड कप आ रहा है, वर्ल्ड कप आएगा हमारे
1983 से देख रहा है, ये वर्ल्ड कप भी हमारा ही है। आज हमारा इंग्लैंड को हरा दिया, मगर दिल है हिंदुस्तान, तो हम जीतेंगे वर्ल्ड कप। ये नसा हुसैन की टोपी है।
अच्छा,
ये नंबर देख लेना, नसा हुसैन की टोपी है। मैंने 1983 वर्ल्ड कप जीता, साउथ अफ्रीका में हार गए थे, 2011 जीत गए थे। ये वर्ल्ड कप हमारा है, आई मीन, एंड हमारी बॉलिंग टू गुड है। हमारी बैटिंग थोड़ी इंप्रूव करना चाहिए, आई मीन, वर्ल्ड कप
2011 रिपीट होएगा। 2011 will be repeated again. 2011 फिर से रिपीट होगा। Huge excitement here. Fans are really happy. This is a huge victory by over 100 runs. In Lucknow, with camera person Rajesh Gupta, Tanish Punjabi for NDTV.
Fabulous scenes outside the Ikana Stadium. Let's also take you through how both the innings unfolded and India ultimately won that match.
The Indian captain had come out with the intent of planting fear in the heart of the opposition. But the wounded lions were roaring at Ikana. Gill was castled by Vokes. Century number 49 for Virat Kohli was left for another day.
The stop from the land.
An overeager Shreyas Iyer lost his way to India, 40 for 3. On a difficult surface, Rohit Sharma brought up his 54th ODI half-century. The hitman became the fifth Indian to score 18,000 international runs. Adil Rashid gave England the big breakthrough. Rohit Sharma was gone after a fighting 87.
Don't think he's got hold of it well enough. It reaches the fielder.
And so was Jadeja. India 182 for 6.
Up goes the finger.
Surya Kumar Yadav ensured India reached the 200-run mark in the 46th over. He scored 49.
This time it's taken.
India finished their innings at 229 for 9. A tricky chase ensures.
With a direct hit.
The Indian bowlers came out breathing fire, with Bumrah getting rid of David Malan and Joe Root in successive deliveries. And then Shami came to the party, clattering Ben Stokes' stumps. Followed by Johnny Bairstow, sending the big hitters back in the hut. The Indian bowlers suffocated the three lions as wickets kept falling in quick succession, with Shami being the destroyer-in-chief. It was just a matter of time as England folded under pressure, giving India their 6th successive win in the tournament. India remain unbeaten and go top of the table.
Batting second in the first five games, and then we had to come and bat here. We were challenged up front with the new ball of the English bowlers. They bowled pretty well up front, but for us to get to a total where we know, the pitch had something in it, we could come out and, have a good outing there. We've got the experience in our bowling as well. We just wanted to get to a total where, we could play with it.
A fabulous victory for Team India, and to talk about all of that, we're joined here by our guest at this time, Vijay Dahiya, former cricketer, former India cricketer, Rajiv Seth, former cricketer, Gursharan Singh, former cricketer, and Rika Roy. But before we start this discussion, I really want to go back to our evening show where a certain Mr. Dahiya made some prediction. Let's listen to that, and let's listen to what he had to say. Vijay, what's yours?
60-40, other way around.
England 60, India 40. Rajiv?
What do you have to say about that, Mr. Dahiya?
Well played, India. I still give 40%, didn't I?
Fantastic.
Well, 30 for no loss and 52 for 5 explains something. There's no doubt about it. And this is the beauty about this game. You don't count anybody out. You have to respect the opposition. You have to respect the conditions, and that's what good teams do. The student of the game will do that as well. But there's no harm playing safe in that sense. But 230 on the board, defending champions, Is it about skill or is it about not having any confidence in your skill? In that dressing room, I'd love to be in the England dressing room and try and understand what's going on there. Teams don't become bad in 2 weeks' time, but there's something definitely big going on in the dressing room where people don't have any confidence in their skill or in their ability at the moment. It's a big statement to say, having not any confidence in their ability. But I think that's what's happening in England's dressing room at the moment.
Well, one can only imagine what is happening in the Indian dressing room at the moment. Rajiv,
you don't have to imagine for that.
Rajiv said, Bumrah, he has been the man to go for when it comes to India. What a fantastic spell by Bumrah, right at the top.
Indeed, Osama, first of all, to your earlier quote, I think it's early Diwali for India because the way they have been hammering opposition, left, right, center, and the way the exuberance, the confidence which is going through, it's phenomenal. And to talk about Bumrah and Shami, what more one can say? I mean, as a combination, they're lethal. And it's the world which is talking about them.
Yeah.
And obviously, Siraj complementing it as and when. Though Siraj looked very different after his little toppling away with the ankles, sprain and all that. But having said that, yes, Bumrah did all the damage and Shami came and complemented. And obviously, what we spoke about in the earlier session, that we all wanted Kuldeep to be the trump card, and he did so. And the effectiveness which he provided in those late, 15 to 20 overs spell. So that was the face I think it made. It's absolutely one-sided. There's one more thing I would like to say. If you see my T-shirt, it's T20 World Cup T-shirt. The match is finishing in 30-odd overs, and the way it's going on, I don't see this 50-over stuff in some sense. The way the Indian team is playing and the way it's going in favor of Indian team, it's phenomenal.
Well, I have a question for Gautam. Gautam, when it comes to World Cup, Mohammad Shami is almost a different beast. 25% or 40 of his wickets have been picked up during the World Cup. Would you say it is World Cups are always special for Mohammad Shami?
Yes, I mean, let's say the 50-over World Cups. 2015, he was one of the highest wicket takers for India. That was his first World Cup. I think around 15 or 17 wickets. 2019, he had that hat-trick and he was really on song. And here also 2 matches and 9 wickets. I mean, very soon he will be there, in that top 10 wicket takers list. So definitely there is something. He's a big occasion bowler that we've got to say.
Vijay bhai, can you, when you talk about Shami, can you now ever sit him out of this particular team?
Well, if you remember, and Rika as well, in our early shows, we were saying that, how come he's not in the side? I mean, I'll tell you just one thing about this team. An all-rounder gets out because of the injury. Who goes out of the team? The other all-rounder gets out of the team. Shardul Thakur was in the part of the team when Hardik was the playing member, and everybody was saying, how come Shami is not there? It excites you as an ex-cricketer when you see at least 4 fast bowlers in the side who can bowl 140 plus.
Yeah.
What I mean, it's phenomenal. We have never seen that. Or same team, and look at this, playing with just 5 bowlers, and all 5 are wicket-taking options. We saw that in New Zealand. It was, when they took, in first spell, when they took aggressive sort of an approach against Kuldeep, Rohit was forced to make certain changes, bring his bowlers who normally bowl in death overs kind of early. But here, the kind of start that we had, it's phenomenal. And it was a little difficult to understand that how come Shami was not there from the word go. If you have 6 bowling options, you don't need somebody to bat at number 8. You were more worried about somebody coming at number 8 and scoring crucial 15-20 runs for you. But if you have somebody like Shami in your side, you won't be scoring more than 300 or more than 260, 270 runs.
Yeah.
Vijay, on the topic of Mohammad Shami, he now has 4 4-wicket hauls in the World Cup and he's tied with Mitchell Starc. when you compare these two bowlers, would you put Shami ahead of Stark?
I hate comparing people, Rika. You know that it's a waste of time comparing people, different pitches, different teams, different sort of a responsibility given to people. But his contribution is second to none. Sometimes what happens in India when we talk about contribution is always associated with the success. We forget sometimes, success is just giving less runs. But in India, it's always scoring runs. It's always about taking wickets. That's the reason why, unfortunately, I always say that India is not a sports-loving nation. It's a result-oriented sort of a country. Shami is being phenomenal. And he's somebody, who's very low-profile sort of a person. You don't see him going in, even in today's day and age, into media or social media and speaking about what he possesses. But his performance or his presence is phenomenal.
Well, Rajiv said, I really want to talk about that over from Shami when he set up Ben Stokes. It was literally a clinic that he put up when it came to that particular over. The way he bowled those lengths and then ultimately made the last one to move just slightly, and Ben Stokes could not play that ball.
It was mesmerizing, Osama.
Yeah.
To be very frank, the way he was moving the ball, seaming the ball on the track that was perceived to be, obviously keeping straight, nicely coming onto the bat because of the dew factor and all. But early on, I think the ball was doing a fair bit too. But the way he bowled that spell, and what an atrocious shot. I mean, I would never imagine anybody to play a shot. I mean, it was a half volley, almost. Vijay will talk about it, I'm sure. It's a length right up to you. And what is he trying to do? I mean, considering that it's the time to hang in, play an anchor role, and just see through the initial overs, and that never happened for England. And that's where I think we were talking about Joe Root making that difference. And unfortunately for us, unfortunately for them, that he got a duck. And the spell which he created as Shami we're talking about has actually changed the entire momentum. I mean, obviously, Bumrah did the damage early on. He was hanging onto the stumps every now and then.
Yeah.
And but Shami complimented him and I kind of took it from Dharamshala. He probably just said, he just made a statement that look, that match in Dharamshala is not finished.
Yeah.
It's still going on. So it's really heartening to see our seamers doing so well. Not that I belong to that same breed and same category, but as a bowler myself, it's great to see the seamers and the fast bowlers coming up in Indian ranks where the world is talking about them.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliant part, because those were the days when our seamers were hardly talked about. It was always the spinners.
Right.
And this is the era when we are talking about the seamers first, more than the batters also. So, it's the whole shift. It's the paradigm shift which has happened. And I think that's a great thing to say.
And Vijay wanted to say something. He wanted to add something.
Yeah. Osama, Rika, I don't want to take any credit away from the Indian fast bowlers or as far as the Indian bowling unit is concerned. They're right at the top at the moment. But the shot selection by the English side is very ordinary. They never looked like defending world champions. They never looked like they were in the game. It was very ordinary.
Yeah.
That's right. Only a few months ago, in November last year, England rolled over India at the 2020 World Cup. The side wasn't much different from the side that's playing in the World Cup today. Gautam, the question to you, I mean, when you look at the India side that played against them then and now, would you say one of the big difference is the presence of Jasprit Bumrah, who's back bowling at a full tilt?
Yes, definitely. If one is the presence of a comeback of Bumrah from injury, the other one is the format. And see, over the last both the T20 World Cups, I mean, it had been a bit of a forgettable campaign, but I always had the feeling that playing in these conditions and with the kind of batting lineup that you have, it's going to be difficult to beat India. But what I didn't expect would be this kind of a walk in the park. Like today also, I thought it could be a case of winning ugly, which people thought that one tough win is required at this point. But it was far from it after the new ball bowlers did the damage.
Right. Vijay bhai, I also want to talk about the Indian team as a unit. And a lot of people have been talking about India being unbeaten, sitting on top of the points table. But I also want to talk about the intensity that this team brings. Do you see the same kind of intensity like we saw with the team of Australia in 2003?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like when somebody in this, in any sport, one will set the tone or one will set the standard, and you always compare others that are we up there or not? Yeah, you can say that, but I'll just go back and we just touched upon Bumrah or a couple of other guys in the side. There's one line which says that you don't need a title to be a leader, and that's what is happening in this Indian side. There are so many leaders as far as when we talk about chasing. Rohit is absolutely there as a captain, but Virat Kohli is not far away when we're chasing. When it comes to bowling, this bowling unit looks completely different seeing Bumrah. And I think we talk about Shami, we talk about what Kuldeep is doing, but having Bumrah there, it looks like as if he's the bowling captain. He's in charge of that unit. Yeah. The whole confidence is completely different. His presence is so important for Indian sides, and I think his impact in the mind of the opposition is huge, and that's what's making a difference. It's a saying, but it stands true that good bowling unit always win you tournaments.
Vijay, since you spoke about Jasprit Bumrah being the bowling captain of India, and you are a coach yourself, I have to ask you this question about Bumrah. Having come back from an injury, bowling the way he is bowling, what does it take really? Because it seems that he has forgotten all about the times that he spent on the hospital bed when he had that painful operation, injury. It put him off almost a year.
I think it's the mental toughness. That's what is something so special about this guy. In the other match, when we were discussing about India-Pakistan game, if you remember, Shaheen and Bumrah, we were saying, I think that's one thing that stands about. You can have a lot of variation, skill, and all those things in your armory, but all it comes down to mental strength and mental strong, how mental strong or how mental tough you are when you're playing at this level. I was saying that in post-show as well, skill is one thing, but at the top level is the mental toughness. And I think that's one thing that, Shami or for that matter, even Bumrah we're talking about, even Shami is in the same category, but Bumrah stands apart. He's phenomenal. Once he's on the park, nothing else matters. His mindset is such. And I'll talk about one of the first-class game as well. There was a crucial game for Gujarat. I remember I was doing commentary in that particular game, and after the game, I was talking to Partha Patel, who was the captain, and they talked about 90 overs. Bumrah, as a fast bowler, I'm not saying medium fast bowler, going to Parthiv and is saying, you worry about 45 overs, I will bowl 45 overs from the one end. That's the mindset of that guy. And there are these sort of a statement. These are small little things, Erika, which sets you apart. Yeah. And that's what Bumrah is all about. You look at his bowling, there was a catch dropped by Virat Kohli in second slip. Yeah. What was Bumrah's reaction? He was clapping for the effort. Yeah. There are a lot of people will make a different sort of a gesture, say being disappointed, but he was applauding the effort. It tells you about the mindset. It tells you about the team culture. It tells you about the space this Indian team is in.
Rajiv, talking about, the mindset, the culture of the team, another man we have to discuss is Kuldeep Yadav. He was down and out a little while ago, the way he has come back, and today the ball with which he bamboozled in England captain Jos Buttler. Tell us a little bit about that specific ball. It apparently turned 7 degrees.
Yep.
It did, and it was the ball of the tournament, clearly ball of the tournament. And the amount of turn it took, it was hard to believe. The one fundamental thing when the dew settles in, it's very difficult for a spinner, especially for a wrist spinner, to bowl googlies. Vijay would be the right person, having coaching the best teams in the domestic circuit. Irons as well as IPL. But which is where I think he was having a good topspin going through, and his leggies were like big turners. This is the change that he has made to his bowling from the last 2.5 years. And this is where probably the trajectory, probably the release point has also come slightly lower down. But then he is much faster off the wicket also. So it's very difficult to predict him, one, and two, to judge his length and come to terms with it, which is where I think he's making the huge difference, which most teams and most batters are finding it difficult to comprehend. And that ball, what would I say? I mean, in fact, he had another similar one, but it would be not 71 degree. It would be 50 odd, but that also turned a fair bit. So, this has been, a top tournament for our bowlers, and particularly Kuldeep. We banked on Kuldeep before we started our second innings, but I mean, everybody did the justice, and I'm so happy for it. If I may be allowed to make one comment about Jasprit and his comeback, Rika, as you were mentioning, the most important thing is when you come back from a surgery, it's very, very difficult because psychologically it's playing on your mind. And how would you take those baby steps going forward, the initial spells that you make? And that's where you have to have a clear load management and clear guidance from people who are working with you. And I think that's where you have to give credit to the Indian contingent also, because that's where you prepare the player, and that's where you make the difference. And I think this is something which has to be applauded too.
Oh, absolutely. Gentlemen and Rika, we'll continue this discussion, but we'll take just a short break and we'll be back.
Iran warning Israel not to go after Hamas in the Gaza Strip. I think they're revealing what their real agenda is.
Israel, as a democratic country, should not target civilians for revenge.
80% of the Israeli people today would love to see Netanyahu go home as soon as possible.
When it comes to Hamas, ISIS terror organization, there is no solution with them. Diplomatic would not, we would not risk having the same attack occur again on Israel.
NDTV for news you can trust. No sensationalism, no ugly debates, no agenda. We strive to be transparent and unbiased in our reporting so you can get news that you can rely on.
When it comes to sports, we set the ball rolling.
Because we have our eyes on the ball.
Because we want to get you the best.
Latest updates,
top interviews,
and analysis
from around the globe.
That was fast, right? But tech is evolving even quicker than our abilities to adapt. And that's how I like to roll. Technology तो आप सभी के पास है, but what you need is everything else. मेरा नाम है गौरव और अब मैं आ गया हूँ NDTV नेटवर्क पे, हर रोज, हर हफ्ते, अब आपके और पास. Go beyond the now.
Iran warning Israel not to go after Hamas in the Gaza Strip. I think they're revealing what their real agenda is.
Israel, as a democratic country, should not target civilians for revenge.
80% of the Israeli people today would love to see Netanyahu go home as soon as possible.
When it comes to Hamas, ISIS terror organization,
Welcome back. A fantastic victory for Team India, and it was set up by two very crucial innings in the first by India, and Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav. Vijay, I want to start with you. We have talked about Rohit Sharma, we have talked about Surya Kumar Yadav, but when you look at those innings in the context of this match, how crucial were those innings for India?
I think in the pre-show we were talking about Rohit Sharma's the approach, and again we were losing wickets from the one end, but on the other end he was standing tall and playing the way he's been playing throughout this tournament. He took his time. It was understandably, because of we lost a couple of early wickets. Surya Kumar Yadav doing what Surya Kumar Yadav does, enjoying those last 20 overs and making sure that he'll have a contribution in playing the shots that he's master at. But I'll go back again at Rohit and especially his approach. And it started from that third ODI that he played against Australia. He's made his intentions pretty clear after the first couple of games. In one of the interviews, Ishan Kishan was saying that what Rohit Bhai told me, that don't look at me, I'm going to play this way. And I think when he said, I'm going to play this way, he set the tone for the full Indian dressing room that this is the way I'm going to play. I'm going to take the chances. I'm going to play that aggressor's role as far as the first 10 overs concerned. And if your captain is playing like that, that sets the tone for the rest of the dressing room as well.
And Rajiv, when we look at this knock from Rohit Sharma, 87 on a very tough pitch, it wasn't just about aggression, it was a lot about control as well. Tell us a little bit about the kind of control he had in the middle today while wickets were falling at the other end as well.
It wouldn't have been easy at all, Rika, because he changed gears. If you see, he started off wanting to play some shots, which is his original cricket. That's the shots that he liked to play. But thereafter, when early wickets went through, and he kind of changed the gears, he came to an anchor role, just taking singles and taking an odd double and a boundary or whatever. But having said that, this is something is the height of adaptability, you know. And Rohit making that statement is walking the talk. As a captain and as a lead batter who's the prolific run getter in this tournament, but you know you still got a match in hand. You got to go through the innings, and I think he paced his innings so well that he made others play very well too. And it was sad that he couldn't really get his 100, but I think he did a wonderful job in terms of taking his team through.
Right, absolutely. India unbeaten in the tournament so far. 6 out of 6. Can they go all the way? That is the question. Thank you everyone for joining us on the show. We'll slip into a short break. News continues on the other side.
When it comes to sports, we set the ball rolling.
Because we have our eyes on the ball.
Because we want to get you the best.
Latest updates,
top interviews,
and analysis
from around the globe.
Okay, so we're coming towards the end और ये है मेरा favorite section, guys. You know about it. It's Ask TG, जहाँ पे आपके सवाल होते हैं, मैं जवाब देता हूँ. तो let's see इस हफ्ते हमारे पास में क्या-क्या सवाल आए हैं, because I am ready with all my answers.
Hi TG, which mobile brands should we buy to support PM Modi's Make in India initiative?
Okay, I'll tell you something very honestly. Any phone in the market, when you see the label that it is made in India or assembled in India or something like that, go ahead, get it. That's my honest answer. आज अगर कोई फ़ोन बनता है इंडिया में तो हम देखते हैं कि कुछ कंपोनेंट्स इंडिया से आते हैं, कुछ कंपोनेंट्स इंडिया के बाहर से भी आते हैं और हम विद टाइम ये कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द कंपोनेंट्स इंडिया से आने शुरू हो जाएं. बट दिस नंबर is very difficult, you know, to go to 100% because ये बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल एक प्रोडक्ट है जहाँ पे बहुत सारे कंपोनेंट्स काम में आते हैं. Sometimes the protocol might not be supported. Sometimes this USB port is not sufficient to give you a display output. तो आप उस केस में Chromecast को यूज़ कर सकते हैं to cast your screen. I would say that would be an easier option. And if you can give more details about the exact model of tab that you're using, या फिर आप किस तरीके
15 are injured and 2 are still fear trapped. The train collision leaves several hurt near Visakhapatnam. The Chief Minister now says aid is rushed to the spot. Meanwhile, rescue operations are still underway. The Prime Minister dials Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw on the Andhra train collision. Sources tell NDTV a human error is likely to have caused the Andhra train mishap. The train driver did not notice the signal, is what sources have told NDTV. Meanwhile, in tragic news, 2 people have died and over 50 injured in the serial blasts in Kerala. Multiple blasts at a prayer meeting in Kochi reported. The stringent anti-terror law UAPA has been invoked in the serial blasts case. This is a 48-year-old now claims responsibility and surrenders before the police. And in the Kerala case, the Chief Minister calls for an all-party meeting. Meanwhile, the BJP takes a swipe at the Pinarayi Vijayan government, saying Kerala is paying the price of appeasement politics. Chief Minister Vijayan responds. He says the BJP minister is spewing poison. And battleground Gaza, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns of a long and difficult war ahead. This as Hamas says we'll free hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. But the big question now, will the war turn into a regional conflict? This is Israel's Gaza incursion now a turning point in the war. And what a stellar performance. The men in blue thrash England in the World Cup thriller. India wins by 100 runs against England, and with their 6th win on the trot, India is unbeaten in their home turf.
Performance by India today. The home team, they had a week off, and they've come back with a bang.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I am Vedant Agarwal. Our top story, well, 6 people have died and several others are feared injured as 2 passenger trains collided. And as per preliminary information, it was a passenger train that hit a stationary train, which is what caused this absolutely deadly mishap there. Now, the passenger train was going from Visakhapatnam to Raigad, and that had a rear end collision with another passenger train which was reportedly stationary. 3 coaches of one of the trains have actually derailed and rescue operations are underway. In fact, the Prime Minister has also spoken to the Railway Minister, who has in turn spoken to the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. This is what sources have told NDTV. And now what we're getting to know is that the initial cause of the accident has also been ascertained. It was a human error, and Vasudha Venugopal is now live with us on the phone line. So Vasudha, what you are breaking at this hour is that, the initial reports suggest that it was a human error that caused the accident. Of course, it is a matter of investigation, but what you are reporting is that the train driver, the loco pilot, missed the signal.
Absolutely, Vedant. So clearly the Railway Ministry has gotten into action. This is a serious accident because there are two trains involved. One was going to Palasa from Vizag and the other one was going to Raigad from Vizag. So of course, this happened due to the rear end collision, like you were also mentioning. What we understand, the room that's operating from the railway board here, and what we understand from our sources is that this is a human error. The loco pilot did not notice the signal. So of course, there are times when people, the drivers also get very tired. So these things have happened in the past also. So there was not a technical glitch. There was not a problem with any of the systems, but there was a problem. I mean, it was a human error, which is understandable. And what we understand right now is basically 6 people are confirmed dead and over 15 are injured. And of course, that is going to go up. The Prime Minister has already spoken to the Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, and Mr. Vaishnav has also Jagmohan Reddy. And what we understand is that all this war room is going to operate. The minister is right there, so he's monitoring the situation. The excavation has been, the process of distribution has begun. What is important is 2 people continue to be trapped in the 3 coaches which have been affected. Those coaches have been removed, but the process of evacuation has begun, and are told that every possible attempt is being made to rescue the 2 people who are still trapped, and that would happen soon. The attempt right now is to ensure that state and the centre work on the same page, and there is a lot of expedition of the relief work that happens, and that is why the minister, I'm told, is constantly in touch with the state government officials. That is happening.
Right, Vasudha, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. Of course, the cause of the incident will be ascertained, but right now the focus is on the restoration of tracks and, of course, rescue operations. And moving now to the other big headline, 2 women died and over 50 others were injured in serial blasts that rocked Kochi. In fact, 3 back-to-back blasts were reported at a convention center where a prayer meeting was organized by a Christian group in Kochi. And now a 48-year-old man has surrendered. In fact, the stringent anti-terror law UAPA has been invoked as well. Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has also spoken on the blast. He says a special probe team will be formed and will be led by a senior police official. The NIA or the anti-terror agency is also likely to take over the probe. My colleague Pratibha Raman is at the spot and she sent us this report. What are you seeing on the ground? Because these blasts have really shocked the entire nation. Multiple blasts at that prayer meeting. What is the situation on the ground?
Well, in fact, as we speak, I'm here stationed right outside the convention center, the blast site, and the NSG team is already here, and a thorough investigation is on at this point in time at the site of the blast, and multiple agencies are involved, including the NIA that is conducting the investigation at this point in time. Now, a two-pronged approach has been undertaken by these agencies. One, the timing of the blast, especially this comes a little after a day or two of the rally that was organized by a special group expressing solidarity with the Palestinians, and that particular rally was also addressed by a Hamas leader at that point in time. And number two is, like you mentioned, a person who has come forward reportedly confessing to this, and a video that has also been doing the rounds as we speak, which also claims of Dominic claiming that he has allegedly taken this drastic step, almost believing that he does not really confer with the kind of values that are being inculcated or that are being believed by this particular religious gathering that is the Jehovah's Witnesses group. And these two approaches are being investigated by the police, the special team that has been organized by Pinarayi Vijayan. And Pinarayi Vijayan, in the meantime, has also called for an all-party meet tomorrow. Now, with respect to this investigation, an FIR has also surfaced, an FIR that has been registered by the police, where both the UAPA as well as the Explosives Act have been invoked. So at this point in time, nothing can be ascertained until the investigation is thoroughly complete. And this is what we hear from police sources. More details would be awaited once the investigation is complete.
Absolutely, Pratibha, and also larger questions on perhaps intelligence failure and a security lapse also being raised as far as the Kerala government is concerned. So the ball is really in the Kerala government's court now, with that all-party meeting also being called. But how is the investigation going to go forward as far as the terror link is concerned? Because that is yet to be established.
That's right. The FIR has been the first step that has been taken forward by the police, and whether the case would be handed over to the NIA is also something that the police, the investigation team of the Kerala police is now looking at. But nothing really can be ascertained at this point in time. More details would emerge once the investigation is complete with the multiple agencies that are in talks at this point in time right at this convention center. More details perhaps tomorrow.
So many unanswered questions there. But moving now to the big political headline, well, the BJP is piling on charges on TMC MP Mahua Moitra in the Cash for Questions case. In fact, BJP national spokesperson Shehzad Poonawalla launched a scathing attack, alleging that Mahua Moitra is trying to hoodwink the public in her interviews. BJP MP Nishikant Dubey also said that Mahua Moitra needs to come clean. Well, Mahua Moitra has hit back, and she says that the BJP is shifting goalposts from Cash for Questions to national security. Meanwhile, now there are two statements of Mahua Moitra out in the public domain. One as per her interviews, and one her plea in the High Court. Vasudha Venugopal has more details.
While TMC MP Mahua Moitra, who is at the center of this Cash for Queries scam controversy, has been giving TV interviews in the last 2 days, alleging that she is basically a victim of a hit job, and she has basically denied a lot of these allegations, basically of taking cash for asking questions. She has also admitted to some of them, especially of sharing login credentials with industrialist Darshan Hiranandani, and also taking some gifts from him, which include some makeup items, and also letting him arrange her travel when she's in Mumbai. Now, This, of course, has been termed problematic by many experts and lawyers who have pointed to an existing defamation case that is filed against Mr. Jay Anand Dehadrai. Mr. Dehadrai is the lawyer who basically brought out this complaint against her, and he has also gone to the CBI with it, and also against Mr. Nishikant Dubey, a BJP MP who was the first to flag this complaint to the Ethics Committee. Now, Mahua Moitra is fighting a defamation case against Mr. Dubey and Mr. Dehadrai, and in her defamation case, in her petition at the Delhi High Court, she has denied all the allegations that have been raised by these two people, and she has refuted all the allegations of sharing her login credentials with Mr. Darshan Hiranandani, and also taking any sort of gifts from him. Now, of course, she has admitted to parts of it in her interviews, which is what lawyers and experts say amounts to lying in the court document, which is why they feel that there could be some action against her. What we hear from our sources is that there could also be a case for perjury and a separate case moved against her for attempting to lie in the court or lying in a court document. That will be, of course, seen on October 31st when the case comes for hearing. Remember, on October 21st, when the case was being heard for the first time, there was a lot of drama in the Delhi High Court because the judge had publicly reprimanded Ms. Moitra's counsel for trying to negotiate with Mr. Dehadrai for a settlement without disclosing that he was the lawyer for Ms. Moitra, and after which the lawyer had basically withdrawn from the case. So it remains to be seen on October 31st what the court decides on this matter.
And well, the latest on battleground Gaza, well, Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that the war has entered its second phase and that it's going to be a long and difficult war ahead. This is on the ground. Israel is ramping up its ground operations and its presence, and a full-blown invasion is now inevitable. But what really are the challenges as far as the peace solution is concerned? Well, the hostage challenge is a big one, and now Hamas has said that they're ready to free hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Why is it such a complex challenge, and how is Israel pushing Hamas to release hostages? Mohammad Ghazali breaks it down for us.
To more than 220 hostages who are there in Hamas's captivity in Gaza Strip. The first option, which looked very favorable for US, Hamas, Israel and everyone else, was the diplomatic negotiations, or what we call mediation. Qatar, one of the Middle Eastern countries, has played this role even in the past, and even in this crisis it played its role, which led to the release of 4 hostages by Hamas. But after that there has been no progress as far as hostages are concerned. The second was an offer made by Hamas, which was called hostage for ceasefire. Israel has an ethos of never leaving anyone behind, dead or alive. Hamas offered release of hostages in exchange of a ceasefire, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has already declared a war against Hamas, may not give any reprieve to Hamas. Now, the third major concern is the safety of hostages. For any negotiations to proceed, Hamas will have to ensure the safety of hostages. And though Hamas has been claiming that many hostages have been killed in the aerial bombardment or invasion by Israel, none of the Western agencies or agencies of Israel have confirmed any such reports. So it is being believed that all the hostages are safe and alive in the captivity of Hamas. The most important part is that how long Hamas can hold the hostages. We have seen that to gather a lot of diplomatic support or international support or sympathy, Hamas may have released 4 hostages, but that was just intended to gain more sympathy and support from international community. But can Hamas afford to keep these hostages for a long period? That can't be ruled out, because we had seen that how Hamas had kept one Israeli soldier for 5 years and later released him in exchange of more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners who were kept in Israel's prison. So this is also a big challenge. Another big challenge is that if Israel goes into Gaza, and which it already has, the military operation may jeopardize the safety of these hostages, which is a big concern not only for Israel but also for the relatives and the loved ones of those who are there in Israel, who are every day praying that Israel somehow manages to get these hostages back.
And well, as the war on the ground only intensifies, the big question now is, has diplomacy failed? And has this war actually divided the world to an extent and scale that we have not seen before? Because now we see an increasing anti-West sentiment in the Arab world and a greater divide on a global scale as well. Mohammad Ghazali explains how this particular war has exposed the fault lines in global diplomacy.
The Israel-Hamas war has certainly polarized the world, and in this segment we explain that which countries are supporting Israel or which are the countries which are openly extending its support for Hamas. So the first list of countries are what we call the Western camp, or those countries like America and Europe which firmly support the Israel's right to defend itself. They are notably hesitant to criticize Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, aligning themselves closely with Israel's stance. Then comes the neutral observers, countries like India, which condemns the Hamas attack, but also advocates for Palestinian rights and a two-state solution. These countries aim to strike a balance between acknowledging the security concerns of Israel and the aspirations of Palestinians for a statehood. Then there is a third category of countries which is extending its full support to Hamas, and there has been widespread protest in these countries against Israel's invasion in the Gaza Strip. Now, countries like Turkey, Egypt, Algeria, and numerous Muslim nations, or the Muslim majority nations, they have refused to condemn Hamas, and instead they're concentrating on highlighting the plight of Palestinians in Gaza Strip. Then there is United Nations. Multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions related to the war have failed to pass or have been either vetoed by the United States or Russia and China. The UN General Assembly has overwhelmingly called for immediate, durable and sustainable humanitarian truce between Israel and Hamas, and ensure that there is unhindered aid access to the Gaza residents in the Gaza Strip.
So, well, the war is raging, and unfortunately the worst is yet to come. We'll take a short break now. News continues on the other side.
To understand the whole thing, let me explain to you that how does it work. There are various players. NPCI is one place, and they get their switching fee. So to that extent, they are compensated. There is no loss to them.
They are making money.
There's a not-for-profit. So even if they are making money, it will ultimately not for that particular organization. It's a not-for-profit organization. It is owned by the banks. So it's all right. There are players like issuing bank and acquiring bank. So for example, if you have a savings bank account with the State Bank of India, so it is an issuer bank, because whenever you make payment, it comes to State Bank of India through the switch and your account gets debited. Then the payment will go to the merchant and it will go to the account of the merchant. It may be with a different bank. It could be the State Bank, but it could be with another bank, say it is with ICICI Bank. So ICICI would have acquired or put a QR code of their own with that merchant. There is a cost to that. That merchant may be maintaining a current account with them. So if there are some funds on that, we call it float in banking parlance, float funds. So some income accrues to the acquiring bank because of that balances which are kept. Similarly, the money which you keep in your current or savings bank account, the issuer bank also gets some money from that balance. But otherwise, purely on the payment transaction, there are so many nodes, there is so much investment in infrastructure, huge number of transactions are passing through the system. So there is a certain amount of overload on the system. The accounts have to be reconciled. There may be transaction failures, then customer grievance redressal, retrieval of money, locating that money. Plus, sometimes frauds also happen. So there are so many costs which are being put on in the players in the ecosystem. So for any system to make it popular, even its government and the infrastructure is provided by the, it's called public-private partnership. But otherwise also when there is a promotion, so private companies also for 2-3 years, they incur sometimes losses on that promotion of that product, but that is a company which incurs the loss. In this case, the loss is getting divided where government also is providing the support and the industry is also providing. So we say example, I take BharatPe, we are another player. So we act as an agent or a third party service provider to the banks in acquiring these merchants.
cup of joy.
Can India lift it at home after 12 years?
We will follow their journey through the length and breadth of the country.
Through every twists and turns.
On Turning Point, on NDTV 24/7.
फ्रेंड्स, इन दिस सेगमेंट मैं आपके साथ में कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन शेयर करने वाला हूं अबाउट योर गैजेट्स. यू नो, योर डिवाइस माइट बी एक्सपोज टू सम क्रिटिकल वल्नरेबिलिटीज, जिसके बाद में आपका डेटा, आपका इंपॉर्टेंट जो इंफॉर्मेशन आपने स्टोर करके रखा है उस फोन में, वो सब गलत हाथों में जा सकता है. अभी ऐसा ही कुछ हुआ व्हेन द कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रिस्पांस टीम फॉर इंडिया एक एडवाइजरी इशू करती है एंड वो बताती है कि मल्टीपल वर्जन्स ऑफ एंड्रॉयड
Welcome back. It's been an incredible victory for the men in blue. India has beaten England by 100 runs, and well, India has completed what they call a true demolition job against England. And well, with its 6th consecutive win, India remains unbeaten on their home turf. Rika Roy has the analysis of this thrilling match.
By India today, the home team, they had a week off. They've come back with a bang.
100 runs is a huge margin of victory, primarily handed down to Team India by its bowling unit. Mohammad Shami picking up 4 wickets and also Jasprit Bumrah taking 3 wickets this evening. They exerted a lot of pressure on the opposition, and as a result, the English batters were unable to come up with a strategy against the Indian pace duo. In the beginning, when they bowled 5 overs, they forced the English batters to play 14 false shots. In that span, they took out 4 key wickets. Because of the pressure that put on the English batters, they were unable to get a credible score. 129 was what they were able to score against while chasing 230 runs. This is also a big win that takes Team India closer to the semi-final spot that they are really playing for. Right now, it's the business end of the tournament. So 3 matches left to be played against Sri Lanka, against South Africa, and against Netherlands. The Indian cricket team is on a roll. I would say this by far was the toughest match for them in the entire World Cup so far. And that's not because of the opposition they faced, not because of the quality of the opposition, but the pitch, the deck on which they played. Rohit Sharma scored 87 runs, which looked to everyone as perhaps one of the toughest half centuries he has scored in his career. This was his 54th half century, and that really helped India pile up 229 runs. At that point in mid-innings, we were talking about the fact that this may be 20 or 30 runs short. But the way the Indian bowling unit thereafter came out and exerted pressure on the Indian batters, it told the story of India's complete domination in this World Cup.
देख रहा है, ये वर्ल्ड कप भी हमारा ही है. आज हमारा इंग्लैंड को हरा दिया, मगर दिल है हिंदुस्तान, तो हम जीतेंगे वर्ल्ड कप. ये नसा हुसैन की टोपी है. अच्छा, ये नंबर देख लेना, नसा हुसैन की टोपी है. मैंने 1983 वर्ल्ड कप जीता, साउथ अफ्रीका में हार गए थे, 2011 जीत गए थे. ये वर्ल्ड कप हमारा है, आई मीन, एंड हमारी बॉलिंग टू गुड है. हमारी बैटिंग थोड़ी इंप्रूव करना चाहिए, आई मीन. वर्ल्ड कप 2011 रिपीट होएगा. 2011 विल बी रिपीटेड अगेन. 2011 फिर से रिपीट होगा.
Huge excitement here. Huge excitement here. Fans are really happy. This is a huge victory by over 100 runs. In Lucknow with camera person Rajesh Gupta, Tanish Punjabi for NDTV.
So what excitement, and rightfully so. Well, that's all the time that we have on this bulletin from all of us here. Goodbye.
घर पे जाके तुम गूगल कर लो, मेरे बारे में विकिपीडिया पे पढ़ लो. You know, this is something that we do on a daily basis. मतलब हम सभी गूगल यूज करते हैं, हम सभी विकिपीडिया पे यूज करते हैं, बट डिड यू नो कि गूगल एक्चुअल में गूगल नहीं होना चाहिए था, वो होता गूगल. वहां से एक स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक की वजह से गूगल बन गया. अब हुआ ये, जब स्टार्ट हुआ पूरा गूगल का आइडिया, आई टोल्ड यू पहले के एपिसोड में दैट द फर्स्ट नेम वाज बैकरब. अब बैकरब से नाम जब चेंज करना था तो द फाउंडर्स ऑफ गूगल, लैरी पेज एंड सर्गे ब्रिन, दे वर लुकिंग फॉर अ न्यू टर्म, और उनको एक टर्म मिलती है गूगल. गूगल का मतलब क्या होता है इन मैथमेटिक्स? इट्स नंबर 1 फॉलोड बाय 100 zeros. तो आइडिया ये था कि अब इतनी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन को हम एक साथ दिखाने वाले हैं, इट क्लियरली सिग्निफाइज द वास्ट अमाउंट ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन ऑनलाइन. तो वहां से दिमाग में वर्ड आ गया गूगल. लेकिन जब डोमेन खरीदने गए तो उस टाइम पे गलती से GOOGOL की जगह GLE टाइप हो गया, और वहां से बना गूगल, जो आज हम सभी डेली बेसिस पे यूज करते हैं. बट डिड यू नो इट वाज अ स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक दैट एंडेड अस विद गूगल.
How does Bharat Pay make money?
That's my basic question.
So Bharat Pay makes money by facilitating, say, lending product, which is called cross-sell. We have partnership with the lenders, NBFCs, banks, and merchants. We have their settlement account is with the bank again, but the money passes through the Bharat Pay. So with that money flow, we are able to facilitate lending by analyzing that data, and in that process, after their costs, the fund provider, they recover their costs, their return on net worth, their credit loss, all that is to their account, and whatever is the remaining margin, that comes to Bharat. So when the this business, cross-sell business, reaches at certain level, only then it becomes profitable. And Bharat Pay, at least now we are reaching those levels where we are reaching to some sort of a break-even level, and eventually when more business comes in, we may be able to recover our costs and make money.
Welcome to Serious Business on NDTV.
$1 has only secured 0.6 cents of private capital. That needs to fundamentally change.
By mid-century, India's economy will grow eightfold.
One topic.
When a family comes out of the poverty line, what would be the first asset class they would buy? It's gold.
One speaker.
It's the biggest attack on Jews since the Holocaust.
If you want to control inflation, you need to play the trade policy.
UPI, Aadhaar, all of that, where India is well ahead of the West.
5 trillion is a short-term goal. I would like to see India becoming a $30 trillion economy.
This show isn't just about news from the southern states. It's one that looks at the rest of India and the world from a diverse South India point of view, because NDTV has always taken the southern view seriously.
हेलो गाइस, वेलकम बैक वंस अगेन. एक बार वापस से आपका स्वागत है नए एपिसोड में गैजेट्स 360 विद टेक्निकल गुरुजी. आई मीन, यू नो हाउ द वर्ल्ड ऑफ गैजेट्स इज. आई मीन, चारों तरफ नए प्रोडक्ट्स, नए अपडेट्स, नई चीजें. और इनफैक्ट इस नए एपिसोड में आई एम गोना टॉक अबाउट मल्टीपल दीज न्यू थिंग्स कमिंग. इनफैक्ट I have got one very special product. तो देखते हैं कि what all do I have for you. My name is Gaurav. You're watching Gadget CCTV Technical Guruji. जल्दी से आगे बढ़ते हैं. चलिए शुरू करते हैं. So friends, moving ahead, the first thing that we do is सबसे पहले एक बार चारों तरफ नजर घुमा के देखना जरूरी हो जाता है कि आखिर क्या कुछ नया हुआ, क्या नए अपडेट्स आए in the field of gadgets. In this segment, news of the week.
Qualcomm recently held an event wherein they launched the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. ये एक प्रीमियम टियर प्लेटफॉर्म है Windows 11 PCs एंड मोबाइल डिवाइसेस के लिए. Snapdragon 8 3 प्रीमियम मोबाइल प्लेटफॉर्म है जिसमें ऑन डिवाइस इंटेलिजेंस है, प्रीमियम टियर परफॉर्मेंस है और बहुत पावर एफिशिएंसी पे ध्यान दिया गया है. The Qualcomm AI engine ये इंक्लूड करता है एक डेडिकेटेड हार्डवेयर विच इज केपेबल ऑफ रनिंग कॉम्प्लेक्स AI यूज केसेस एट हाई परफॉर्मेंस एंड लो पावर यूसेज. Qualcomm का Orion CPU जो Snapdragon X Elite में है, it can easily tackle complex workloads and multi-app experiences with battery life for days. Fujifilm introduces a new line of printers. These are called the Link series. ये game changer है in the realm of instant photo printing. Mini Link 2 एक sleek smartphone printer है जो card size की Instax film reels के साथ compatible है. And the Square Link smartphone printer, it allows users to print images in just 90 seconds and it features advanced AR functions like add special effects and add doodle. और आप Instax Connect app के साथ और बहुत कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. For those who prefer larger prints, the Link Wide Smartphone Printer भी एक ऑप्शन है. ये स्मार्टफोन से खींची हुई आपकी इमेजेस को एक वाइड फॉर्मेट फिल्म में प्रिंट कर सकता है. The OnePlus Open has finally gone on sale in India और इसकी प्राइसिंग सेट है ₹139,999 for the 16GB RAM variant and 512GB of inbuilt storage configuration. और ये प्राइस्ड है at $139,999 for the singular variant जो 16GB RAM and 512GB inbuilt storage के साथ आता है. ये हैंड डिस्क Emerald Dusk and Voyager Black कलर ऑप्शंस के साथ लॉन्च किया गया है.
Okay, अभी टाइम आ गया है that I show you something really exciting. You know what this is? Easy to guess, right? मतलब काफी आसान है, चारों तरफ ट्रेंड में चल रहा है, आप सभी ने देखा होगा. This is the new iPhone 15 Pro Max in natural titanium. आपने ऐसा सोचा? If yes, तो आपको बता देता हूं, you are absolutely wrong because ये वो नहीं है. This might look like an iPhone, पीछे से भी और आगे से भी, साइड से भी और बैटरी लो भी हो जाती है. But then again, I mean from all sides, this looks like an iPhone, but is it really an iPhone? The thing is, ये है मार्केट में अभी बहुत ज्यादा पॉपुलैरिटी गेन करने वाला एक फेक iPhone 15 Pro Max. ये कुछ 10,000 रुपए में मार्केट में अवेलेबल है. एंड द वे दिस फोन इज क्लोन्ड, बेसिकली दिस इज अ सुपर क्लोन कि एकदम 1-to-1 कॉपी है इन टर्म्स ऑफ द डायमेंशंस, इन टर्म्स ऑफ द फिट एंड फिनिश. अगर आप उसको हाथ में फील करते हैं साइड बाय साइड विद द रियल फोन, you won't be able to make out any difference कि आखिर क्या फर्क है. आपको दिखने में एग्जैक्ट सेम लगने वाला है. अगेन विद द टाइप सी पोर्ट, विद द स्पीकर ग्रिल, विद द न्यू एक्शन बटन, एवरीथिंग इन प्लेस. अगर आप सामने से भी देखते हैं, इन जस्ट वन क्विक लुक, आप शायद सामने से भी इसमें एक डिफरेंस ना बता पाए, अनलेस यू सी थोड़ा सा नीचे एंड यहाँ पे यू वुड सी दिस थिक बेजल. तो ये आपको दिखने वाली है. अदरवाइज दिस फोन इज अ 1-to-1 कॉपी और ये कुछ 10,000 में मार्केट में बहुत ज्यादा तेजी से स्प्रेड हो रहा है. नाउ लेट मी टेल यू समथिंग. दिस of course is not an iPhone. यहाँ पे जो आपको दिख रहा है, the skin looks like iOS, but in fact this is Android. आपको दिखने में, look and feel में, although they have copied like everything. अगर आप जाके देखते हो, let's say the shortcuts app, you see like an iOS complete look and feel. अगर आप settings खोल के देखते हैं, if you go into details, आपको दिखने में एक झलक में ये जो फोन है वो iPhone जैसा पूरा फ्लेवर देने वाला है. If you go into the dialer, now this is Apple's dialer, so I mean अंदर से आपको बहुत सारी चीजें सिमिलर मिलेंगी, बट इट्स ऑब्वियस कि ये असली नहीं है. नाउ व्हाई आई एम शोइंग यू दिस इज नंबर 1 टू स्टे अवेयर, बिकॉज ये चीज मार्केट में गाइस स्प्रेड हो रही है देन फुल ब्लो और कई लोग शायद इस स्कैम का शिकार हो जाएं. They might be a trap because someone might offer a cheaper phone कि online on some platform someone's selling a used iPhone 15 Pro Max at a much lower price and आपको लगता है कि yes it's an amazing deal और जब आप जाके फ़ोन लेंगे तो हो सकता है आपको ये फ़ोन मिले एंड इंस्टेंटली आपका जो है वो चेक करना पॉसिबल ना हो पाए कि इफ इट इज रियल फोन और अ फेक फोन. फॉर अ फैक्ट लेट मी टेल यू, पीछे आपको दिख रहा है ये ट्रिपल कैम सेटअप, बट नो इट इज जस्ट वन वेरी बैड लुकिंग कैमरा. बाकी के जो दो आपको लेंसेज दिख रहे हैं दे आर कंप्लीटली फेक जस्ट फॉर द लुक. तो इस लेवल की कॉपी होती है एंड दिस फोन इज यूज्ड मार्केट में, ब्रांड न्यू फोन्स में. मल्टीपल स्कैमर्स माइट यूज दिस यूनिट टू स्कैम पीपल बिकॉज ये इतना ज़्यादा अच्छी क्वालिटी से बनाया गया है कि एक झलक में पकड़ पाना इट्स वेरी इम्पॉसिबल कि ये जो आपने फ़ोन लिया है ये असली है या नकली है, अनलेस यू आर रियली एन एक्सपर्ट या आप ढंग से जाके देखें. बिकॉज फ्रॉम कैमरा टू फोटोज टू सेटिंग्स टू एवरीथिंग दे हैव कॉपीड द इंटरफेस. माई एडवाइस टू ऑल ऑफ यू वुड बी कि आप बचो इसको खरीदने से, और आपके साथ में कोई स्कैम करे या आपको कोई एक यूज्ड फ़ोन के नाम पे या ब्रांड न्यू फ़ोन के नाम पे कोशिश करे अगर ये वाला फ़ोन बेचने की, इट्स योर अवेयरनेस नाउ. आपको पता है कि मार्केट में ऐसा फ़ोन आ चुका है तो आई एम श्योर यू वुड बी डेफिनेटली अवेयर बिकॉज हमारी सेफ्टी, हमारी सिक्योरिटी, हमारे साथ कोई स्कैम ना हो जाए, इससे इम्पॉर्टेंट क्या है. Speaking of safety, speaking of scams, speaking of this online world, did you know that almost all the banks, huge corporate giants, they have a team of hackers. उनके पास in-house hackers होते हैं एंड एट टाइम्स वो जो हैकर्स हैं उनको इनवाइट भी करते हैं कि वो उनके सिस्टम्स को आके हैक करके दिखाएं. नाउ दीज हैकर्स दे आर नॉट द ब्लैक हैट हैकर्स, ये अच्छे वाले हैकर्स होते हैं जिनको हम बोलते हैं द वाइट हैट हैकर्स. एंड यहाँ पे जो बड़े बड़े बैंक्स होते हैं, बड़े बड़े जो जायंट्स हैं जस्ट लाइक गूगल और मेटा, इनके पास में दे हैव अ टीम ऑफ दीज ट्रेन्ड हैकर्स टू मेक श्योर कि इनके सिस्टम में अगर कोई भी फ्लॉ है तो ये जो हैकर्स हैं ये उसको पहले रिपोर्ट करें सो दैट दे कैन फिक्स इट बिफोर कि वो कहीं पहले बाहर से कोई एक ऐसा इंसान, कोई एक ऐसा हैकर जो शायद नेगेटिवली इसको यूज़ करे अपने फ़ायदे के लिए, वहाँ तक वो इन्फॉर्मेशन पहुँचे. एंड समटाइम्स ऑल दीज ब्रांड्स दे रन द बाउंटी प्रोग्राम्स जहाँ पे इफ देयर इज समवन हु कैन रिपोर्ट एनी सिक्योरिटी इशू तो उसको अच्छा खासा पैसा भी मिलता है. एंड आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's the kind of amount that is given. अगर कोई एक flaw अगर report करता है, if there's some critical security flaw and it's being reported, तो they know कि yeah how important is it, because imagine अगर कोई एक बैंक है या platform like Facebook और Instagram, वहाँ पे अगर कोई security flaw होगा तो वो कितना ज़्यादा नुकसान दे सकता है. So did you know this, that all these big brands, they have in-house team of hackers to hack their own systems ताकि उनका सिस्टम कोई बाहर से हैक ना कर पाए. तो गाइस, मूविंग अहेड हमारे पास में एक और नया गैजेट आ गया है, वन मोर प्रोडक्ट, एंड इट इज दिस, द ऑल न्यू OnePlus Pad Go. Now this is एक बजट टैबलेट एंड आई मीन दिस इज मेनली टारगेटेड फॉर स्टूडेंट्स, या फिर अगर आपको ऑन द गो भी प्रोडक्टिविटी को एनहांस करना है तो यू वांट समटाइम्स दिस बिग स्क्रीन. तो यहाँ पे कुछ ऐसे एक्सपीरियंसेस OnePlus Pad Go के साथ में. इट हैज अ बिग स्क्रीन ऑफ 11.35 इंचेस, इट्स IPS LCD, 90 हर्ट्ज पे रन करता है. द प्रोसेसर इनसाइड इज MediaTek's Helio G99 with 8 GB of RAM, so giving you a good experience for all your basic needs, in fact some casual gaming as well. तो अगर आप इसको देखो थोड़ा ध्यान से, कैसा है ये नया OnePlus का Pad Go.
Adding to their Pad series, OnePlus just launched an affordable tablet, OnePlus Pad Go. इसमें 8 GB RAM आती है स्टॉक एंड 256 GB of storage. इसमें 8 मेगापिक्सल्स का एक रियर कैमरा है, 8 मेगापिक्सल्स का फ्रंट फेसिंग कैमरा है एंड 8000 mAh की बैटरी है. It supports 33 watts of SuperVOOC fast charging. And on the usage front, इसकी claimed battery life by OnePlus is up to 514 hours of standby life. OnePlus Pad Go में Omni bearing sound field है and Dolby Atmos supported quad speakers हैं which give it incredible audio capabilities. इसकी प्राइसिंग OnePlus ने स्टार्ट करी है इंडिया में at 19,999.
Now this for a price of 19,999 मुझे लगता है कि ये काफी इंटरेस्टिंग गैजेट हो सकता है, कंसिडरिंग कि यहाँ पे हमारे पास में क्वाड स्पीकर्स हैं विद डॉल्बी एटमॉस सपोर्ट, 8000 mAh बैटरी, तो आपको एक बैकअप बहुत अच्छा मिलने वाला है, कम्स विद 33 वॉट्स ऑफ फास्ट चार्जिंग, यू नो, गुड बिल्ड क्वालिटी ऑफ मेटल एंड दिस ग्लास काइंड ऑफ डिजाइन एज वेल. एक प्रीमियम प्रोडक्ट लगता है एट दिस प्राइस. So for all the students, for all the learners जिनको एक नया टैब चाहिए, I think this, the OnePlus Pad Go could be a good option. So guys, मेरे पास में good, better, best सब कुछ है आपके लिए. Some more amazing stuff just for you, but right after this short break.
A debate has many facets. Perhaps no one right answer. Left, right, and center. Conversations that get to the core of the debate.
Well, I'm sure every consumer who's here right now will attest to the fact that it's transformed their lives. So it's a social good which is well appreciated and taken for granted now. We're all making payments through these various third-party platforms. If you had to say there is one challenge that is a sort of unnecessary or artificial challenge for the entire ecosystem, is there something that comes to mind? Something that is just creating a barrier for no significant value?
I would not say that there is a challenge when you are on digital. There is a cost and there are certain risks. Whatever mode of payment, even if it is cash, there are costs and there are risks. Fake currency, there is a risk. The cost of distribution of cash in the system, there is a fairly huge cost. It is almost 40,000-50,000 crore per annum for RBI to manage the currency. So digital is not free. It looks like that you are just making payment, it is free. It's not. There is a cost associated to it. But as we say, for currency, if you want to take note or anything,
there is
no cost. So, but that is all built in the system, and at least, say for example, banks, they don't incur cost in managing the currency. They manage it on behalf of Reserve Bank of India. In this case, as I explained, that all the players in the ecosystem, they are bearing a certain cost, including the government of India when it gives incentive by way of. So UPI has become popular and so much popular only because there was active promotion and the cost to the merchant was made free up to a certain number and amount of transactions.
That was fast, right? But tech is evolving even quicker than our abilities to adapt, and that's how I like to roll. Technology तो आप सभी के पास है, but what you need is. Hello guys, welcome back after the break to your favorite show about gadgets, which is Gadgets 360 with Technical Guruji. I mean, my name is Gaurav aka TG, और इस एपिसोड में अभी तक हमने बात करी है about the new fake iPhone 15 Pro Max. साथ के साथ हमने देखा the OnePlus Pad Go, but now it's time for me to give you this nice tip. आपके पास में जितने गैजेट्स हो उतने कम लगते हैं एट टाइम्स, बट आई थिंक उनको सही तरीके से यूज करना भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. स्पेशली अभी अगर आप मेटा यूज करते हैं फिर यूजिंग एनी मेटा सर्विस, तो यू कैन नाउ सी एंड कंट्रोल योर डेटा. बेसिकली एक्टिविटी ऑफ मेटा टेक्नोलॉजीज इज अ न्यू अपडेट जहां पे अभी आप इजीली कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं कि जो आपका डेटा है, हाउ एग्जैक्टली इज इट बीइंग शेयर्ड या हाउ एग्जैक्टली इज इट बीइंग यूज्ड बाय अदर बिजनेसेस, अदर कंपनीज, मेटा इटसेल्फ. तो आपको एक अलग कंट्रोल दे देगा अबाउट योर डेटा and then you can precisely control what all do you want to share, what all you prefer not to share, yeah, how exactly the activity has been in the past.